Welcome, everybody, to Crunch Time. I am your host, Jeff Iafrate. We got alongside me, this way, Lukas Klotz. To my left, my right to you, and my right in real life, or my left in real life, Michael Gentry. Booner will be joining us. He's going to be running a couple minutes late, but we'll be joining the program here soon. Fellas, number one, how are we feeling tonight? Because a lot of stuff transpired today. Josh Reynolds is now a Denver Bronco.
I like that. Hey, my pipe dream, and we'll probably get into it a little later. But my pipe dream of getting that wide receiver from South Carolina, I think.
Lucas having some problem. No, I mean I like it. I think after like how long it took, I don't know, Jeff, you can speak on this too. I think it was just kind of expected. If they were going to re-sign him, I think it was going to be done at the beginning and kind of get it out the way. The longer and longer it took, I felt like the more chances are that he was going to be leaving. So, I mean, it's. I mean, I guess it sucks to see Josh go, but I'm excited for the future and excited how they build the offense and they replace him. So, exciting time.
Yeah, we'll get Mr. Klotz here back. Yeah, I see him. He's doing better now. He's kind of lagging out a little bit there, but hey, we're fired up. Like I said, Josh. Hey, it's all good. It's all good. Hey, we'll get this. We'll get it ironed out.
No, I got you.
We'll get it ironed out. Happy you're joining us, fellas, because like I said, Josh Reynolds is now a Denver Bronco. And I'll pull up this graphic. We'll get into the details. We'll get into life after Josh Reynolds, all of that, potential replacements. But I'll just start by showing, it's a homemade graphic here. Look at that.
Cool.
And shout out Michael Gentry. He was cooking in the lab today. And this right here, I'll read it. Breaking news, Josh Reynolds is signing with the Denver Broncos. And, of course, the deal is a 2-year deal worth up to $14 million. So, assuming there's incentives involved in that deal as well. I mean, you have Josh, who, again, he's a married man. He's at the point in his career where he wants to get paid. And he didn't get this big bag, but $7 million up to 14 for 2 years is more than what the Lions were going to offer him. And he gets to get a bigger role with the Broncos. They just traded away Jerry Jeudy. He comes in. They don't have a quarterback. They got Jared Stidham and Ben DiNucci under contract. Ben DiNucci. That's my brother.
Well, we saw the potential blockbuster trade of Davis Mills going there as well. I think the 33rd team put that up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Blockbuster for a fourth rounder.
Yeah, the big splash with Davis Mills rumored by 33rd team of the Broncos. But guys, I mean, this isn't a surprise, Lucas. You put out a video a couple days ago on Crunch Time kind of shadowing or previewing this. And we talk about this possibility a ton here on the show. And I think we were all in lockstep that we accepted it. He was going to leave. It just made sense. He was taking a tour. I didn't hear a tour to the Denver Broncos, but we heard about the visit he had with the Baltimore Ravens. But fellas, he's gone. And I had a video today. You can check it out. Me kind of giving my thoughts on it. But, Lions will be fine. I'm glad they didn't re-sign him. And it's not anything personal to Josh as a player, but you put that money elsewhere. That's just how it goes, guys. Like, hey, sayonara. Thanks for your contributions. J-Mo, take the next step. And they're going to probably draft a wide receiver. So we move forward.
Can you guys smell that?
Let's go. What do you?
He's getting closer.
Who?
Xavier Legette, 29th overall.
No.
Give me Xavier Legette, 29th overall. I want him. I don't care if it's a little too early. This opens the door for it. He is exactly what the Lions need. Go get your Xavier Legette at 29. Come back at Adisa Isaac, Jonah Ellis, whoever you want in the second round. But go and get your guy that can do it all. So that way, when Jameson Williams, whoever, when you have injury, players don't get extended, you now have another guy that can fill in a potential wide receiver one spot.
Yeah, I don't know about Xavier Legette at 29, but we kind of knew Josh's ceiling, and it's just time for a new look. And I know, Lucas, you probably talked about this yesterday because me and you have kind of been head-to-head on this, but it's just time for a new look on the offense, and it's time to move on. And, I mean, thankful for Josh Reynolds and what he did do, and not so thankful for all the things that he didn't do, but it's just time for a new look in this offense for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we got Boone joining. Welcome to the show.
Oh, that was loud. What's up, boys?
What's going on, Boone? I'll get you. You can chime in here, get your thoughts, and then we'll get to potential a replacement plan. What we think, how Brad will handle this kind of replacing Josh. Now, again, let's not act like their wide receiver core is completely shattered. I mean, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams. They have DPJ, who we'll get into in a little bit, my thoughts on that and how I do think he can fill most of the void that Josh Reynolds left. But you still got Leaf. If they draft a wide receiver, they're still free agents, which we'll get into at 8:15, which I got a name that I don't think you guys aren't going to expect this one. I don't think, but we'll get into it. But Boone, Josh Reynolds, now a Bronco. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was I mean, I don't know where you guys stand on it. I missed a little bit of the start here. Again, it's one of those things to where I would have been fine. Like if he came back, I think I would have been fine with it. And I still think Brad and they go out and get a receiver and he leaves. And I think now it's just, all right, some guys have to step up. It's one of those things where it's like, it's a Ben Johnson offense. You can bring anyone in and it's like the Rams or it's like the Chiefs. It's like Kevin O'Connor. All of these guys that just have that kind of offensive mind to where they can make anything work. Like last year, they were talking about how there was too many weapons and there was just one football, and they were trying to figure out how to get the ball to everyone. Obviously, you don't want to just be like, oh, let's eliminate a weapon because of that. So they obviously don't want to do that. But I think you can go out and get someone in the draft, and him and DPJ are probably combined at minimum will give you the production that Josh Reynolds gave you. So that's where I'm not worried at all. You have Khalif Raymond still. Like Khalif Raymond's like an Iron Man on that offense too. He's a guy too that will get you 500 yards too if you need it out of him, and especially with Josh Reynolds gone, opens up more for him. They remember they extended Khalif Raymond last summer, so he's a guy that's going to have a big role as well. And I'm interested to see what JMO does. I think it comes down to that too. So him, DPJ, and Khalif. What do those three guys do this next season? I'm interested. I didn't see him going to where he went, but in Denver, I was kind of shocked to see that, but. 7 a year. I see it sounded like Brad and Dan offered him a lot less than that. And he was like, all right, I'm going to go take the money. That's where, at least from what I read on Twitter, the feeling that I got is what happened is they offered him way less than he was wanting, and didn't work out.
Yeah, and to that
I don't
point,
think he was ever getting 14 million. Let me just say that.
No,
but Jeff can go. He was never getting 14 million from the Lions. So go have fun in Denver. I mean, it is what it is.
I mean, 14
passer from Bo Nix.
Well, yeah. Well,
that's the best case. That's the best case.
Yeah, yeah. Don't let Jared Stidham start, huh? Don't let him get started role. But to Bon J, I saw the comment there about DPJ. Like I said this in the video I made today, which is on our channel. I just think people, and I've said this, and you've said this too, Lucas. I just think people are significantly underrating DPJ. Like I just think people look at that signing and they're like, oh, he's depth. But people forget what DPJ did his last year in Cleveland, or his last productive year before Amari Cooper showed up. Like, I'm cool. They got him at a fraction of the cost compared to what Josh Reynolds is making currently. So I think it's a great deal in what they got in DPJ. Again, he's unproven in a Lions uniform, but guys, he got traded here in the middle of the season. Like Lucas, he got here mid-season, and it was already a well-oiled machine. And how do you expect a guy to come in just, get right and earn catches, earn snaps? Like, I think DPJ and plus a receiver they draft, they'll be all right.
Yeah, I mean, DPJ, when you compare him to Josh Reynolds, he does not have that consistency and reliability factor. But we talked about it yesterday. When you remove Josh Reynolds from this offense, they still have a lot of reliability and consistency with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta. So you take that into effect and you insert DPJ, that just automatically increases the ceiling of this offense because he is a proven wide receiver in this league. Is he wide receiver 1? No. Is he wide receiver 2? Not necessarily. But he has a talent where he could potentially do so if he's given the opportunity. And I don't think he will in Detroit. But as a wide receiver 3, I think it doesn't get much better than that as far as top-end talent that could be.
And I think, too, not just DPJ, but DPJ and Khalif Raymond, when we have these wide receiver conversations in the weapons on this offense, and I'm kind of someone that does it as well, as you just think, oh, Amon-Ra St. Brown, JMO, Sam Laporta, Jameer, and David. Those are the weapons you have. But no one like the DPJ thing. He is someone who's put numbers up in this league and can produce. Khalif Raymond, he's had 600 yards in a season. He's had 500 yards. This year, he basically had 500 yards and missed a handful of games. So that's another, DPJ and Khalif, again, when I heard this today, I just thought these guys are all going to step up and get so much more opportunities, and it's going to make the offense better as well. And it's not a knock on Josh Reynolds. It's, hey, you have to move on and you have to go win football games without him. you have dudes that can go out there and produce. Let's not act like DPJ hasn't in the league. He has for the Browns. Let's not act like Khalif Raymond hasn't. He has for the Lions. I think he has like 1,500 plus yards in the last 3 seasons for the Detroit Lions. So these are names that are going to get more opportunities. Bring a rookie in on top of that. And I do have some names too, John. I know you said you have free agent names. I have a couple written down as well. I think some free agents that you could maybe bring in. And I'm sure we might be on a similar page here with that. I wrote some down earlier when I heard the news.
And I want to address the JMO kind of side of it, because if everybody believes in JMO, which I do, you guys do as well, his potential, you're opening up more targets for him. I mean, if you take, and I looked at this today, if you take JMO's production from last year, obviously returning from the suspension, he had 24 catches, 354 yards. And then you look at what Josh Reynolds had, 40 catches, 608 yards. If you throw Josh Reynolds' production and put it on JMO, you essentially would have a player that had last year 64 catches for 962 yards. Like that sounds like a pretty good season. So again, JMO, if he is who we think he is and who Brad Holmes thinks he is, then he should be able to absorb most of that production. That's my kind of first thought on it. Like, he didn't play that many snaps upon returning last year. It took a while to kind of get warmed up. I mean, if he is who we think he is, then yes, he will be able to fulfill.
Is that a lot of pressure on JMO? Like, too much, or what?
Yeah, and I'm not saying he'll take. And I'm not saying he'll take all of it. Obviously, DPJ is going to have some time in a rookie, but I'm just saying, like, hypothetically, like, that's a year that some wide receivers have. I don't think he'll get 1,000 yards next year, given the offense. But, like, you can't tell me JMO with his potential can't take some of those the production Josh Reynolds had. You know, like, that's my point.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm interested to see the JMO thing. It's to me, it's more so, and I have faith in JMO to step up and kind of take that role, and I think he's going to do. I've been big on JMO for the last year or so. I'm just interested to see how he reacts to it. Like, does he step up and put numbers up? Because, like, I don't know, Maurice Alexander tweeted out when he said, let me handle the kick returns over JMO, and he put there, let JMO go get 1,000 yards this year. So, like, guys in that building, guys around him want JMO to, like, there's a sense in the building that Jameson Williams is up next. And I've stated it a lot. I think JMO has the highest ceiling on this football team when it comes to talent. So he to me, that conversation we had earlier this year where we got laughed at, what was the number that they said? We said 1,400 yards for JMO.
Like 1,400, 1,300.
I'm not saying 1,400, but I think it's more realistic because all of us locked in 1,000 yards about a month ago when I watched the replay of it. I think it's very more realistic that we can all agree again. It's going to be 1,000. It should be. I'm expecting 1,000 yards from a JMO. Like, just because Josh Reynolds was out, now draft might change that.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to be honest with you.
Total yards too, boys.
Yeah, total. Well, I kind of walked back my take a little bit because 1,000 was a little aggressive, given what I think Laporta and St. Brown can do. But he'll be floating. He'll be floating around that number, I think. But I'll ask you guys, and this is because Lucas brought up Xavier Legette. I think this is a perfect transition before we kind of get into the free agents. If you have faith, and I'm just asking genuinely, if you have faith, because this is something that me and Adam kind of talked about. If you have faith in Jameson Williams and you have faith in what he can be, which is a stud and a guy that could potentially get 1,000 yards a season, whatever it is, why should they take a wide receiver at 29?
Because I think what you need offensively, if you're top 5, that's what you're good at. One, it surrounds Jared Goff with more talent, but through the air, he was the second. He had the most passing yards, second most passing yards in the NFL. And you already know that you have a proven running game. Defensively, there is holes that need to be filled. But as far as the cornerback and then defensive end in the first 2 rounds, you can address that. If you add another wide receiver, you're, in my opinion, keeping what you do not great, because I think what they do great is running the ball, but you just complete this offense even more and you add depth to this wide receiver core, because we talked about it. Like, you do have Sam Laporta, you have Jahmyr Gibbs, but after Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams, you would like to have a little bit better piece, not saying that they don't have anything, but you look around the NFC, the Philadelphia Eagles, the San Francisco 49ers, they have layers of offense. If the Detroit Lions can do that with their passing game as well, which I think they do already, but upgrade it even more, it doesn't hurt whatsoever. It benefits everything.
Yeah, and you really don't have that true X wide receiver to line up on the outside. I don't know if they actually draft one at 29 or if they draft one later, but without a doubt, they need to draft one. You only have DPJ for another year. I'm not too sure actually how long Raymond has. And then you have Jameson Williams' contract that's actually going to boil down sooner rather than later, too. So you do have you will have to address the position sooner rather than later. And this wide receiver class, you could say it has a lot of depth, but the high-end talent in this wide receiver is pretty much all going to go like in the first round. So there could be a reason to draft one just because of that.
So real quick, Jeff, I just want to throw this out there because I tweeted this out. Shout out Easy. He put a post out in hey, why do you, and I think it was something similar, but in my kind of thought process is I'm starting to turn my head and turn the page into Brad Holmes, the whole BPA thing, to where, again, he doesn't care a position group. He doesn't care about filling needs. He doesn't care about the holes anymore. It's more so he just wants to get the best football players in this draft when he's picking. I find it very hard to believe that in the first 3 rounds, as deep as this wide receiver class is, I find it extremely hard to believe that at one point when Brad is sitting there, that there's not a wide receiver that's best player available at that time. As good as this wide receiver class is right now, he's going to get there 29. There's going to be a guy there that's a best player left on the board. It's going to be a receiver. Or if he's looking to trade up, who's the best player available to trade up? It's going to be a Brian Thomas Jr. And we've talked to him. At 29, it could be a Xavier Legette. In the second round or a third round, you're going to be sitting there. Jalen Polk's going to be there. Like, these guys are going to be sitting there, and they're going to be the best player because it's the deepest position right now, group, in my opinion. So I find it hard to believe that Brad just he doesn't really care about depth. Like, he does like the depth, but he doesn't care about that. He's made it very clear that he just, like, if it's the CJ Garner-Johnson situation of last year, Jeff. We'll bring Brian Branch in. If he beats CJ out, he does it. I don't care that we've just brought in a free agent starter at that position. We're bringing him in to play football. If he's better, he's better. That's what it is to me.
Let me propose something to you guys, okay?
Oh, you're proposing now. Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Where's the ring at?
I'm not. No, whoa. Not getting on the knee. But what I will say
first.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Free agent wide receiver. I'm gonna get this a little bit of a curveball. But it's somebody that's familiar with this offense.
I've got 3 names too as well, so I'm going to see how close we get.
Lucas, I see you know where I'm going.
I know exactly who you have. That's on the top
I don't
of my
want
list.
it. I've already seen this.
Hold on. He can play the X. He's got chemistry with Goff. Big body. 4.3 speed.
Talk to me.
Can I interest you in a DJ Chark?
You can interest. Let's go.
No.
Boone, can I interest you?
You can interest me in a DJ Chark. Why wouldn't you want that back?
Come on.
Familiar with the offense, familiar with Jared the quarterback, familiar with Dan Campbell, Ben Johnson. He fits right in. You're talking about, does the glove fit? That glove fits, brother. That is a perfect. There's another player too that I have in mind, and I think Lucas might like this one more than DJ Chark, but I'm with the DJ Chark thing.
Come on.
I don't know why people wouldn't want that. DJ Chark was
no.
Why?
Why
not?
You can never stay on the field before you go off, Lucas. And you could probably get a wide receiver that will be better than him in like year 2 in this draft. So like, there's no reason to do it. We've seen and like, honestly, it's not like DJ Chark was making plays up the middle. Oh, the only thing he was really doing is deep balls too. And I want all those deep balls allocated to Jameson Williams. I don't need them being thrown to DJ Chark. So no, I'm straight. I would rather get a wide receiver that can do multiple different things and actually stay on the field to do those things. So I'm cool.
Lucas, before you go real quick, I just want to make this clear. And Jeff, I'm going to make this clear very, very quick. I would rather have a rookie and get a Brian Thomas or a Legette or Jalen Polk than bring DJ Chark in. But
okay, I don't even have to talk to them.
That's they don't draft the rookie. If they don't draft the rookie and they bring in a free agent, if you look at the list, DJ Chark would be one of my top 2 out. There's 2 options on that list. DJ Chark would be 1A and there's a 1B. Maybe actually he might be number 2 for me, actually.
I mean, I just won the receivers in this class. I think there's, like Jeff Gentry just said, there's 2 or 3 of them that day one would be better than DJ Chark, probably 4 or 5 of them at this point in Chark's career. Okay. And you're talking in 2 or 3 years down the road will be levels above him. And as far as, and I know we talked about it, Booner, you're using a hypothetical, but I'm just going to run with that situation. If Brad doesn't want to draft a wide receiver and they don't draft one, to your point, there's not a wide receiver. There's going to be at some point a wide receiver is the best player available. You can argue at 29, you have Kool-Aid McKinstry, and let's use Ladd McConkey, Who do you think I know the different positions, but who do you think lives up to being a cornerback 1 or a wide receiver 1? Who has a better chance of living up to that tier? And I would say that Ladd McConkey does. So when you look at the needs and all of that thing, I could see a Ladd McConkey becoming a wide receiver 1 before Kool-Aid does a CB 1. So that's where I fall with it. Yeah. I don't think there's a way that he walks out of the draft without a wide receiver. And if you're telling me that I could have that instead of DJ Chark, who basically is what Donovan Peoples-Jones' role is going to be, he's more athletic, he's bigger, stays healthier. Give me that.
Can I throw another name out there?
Yeah, let me get through some. We have a member I kind of missed out on. Then we got a super chat I want to get to. Gage, thank you.
Gage.
We appreciate it. Shout out. A Crunch member. Shout out Gage, man. I like that cowboy hat. You know what I mean?
He did ask how he becomes a part of the Booner Pat. I told him, hey, you just got to believe that we're going to win a Super Bowl, and you're a part.
There you go.
You're on board.
Fair.
There you go. Mike Reed, thank you for the $10. We appreciate you, brother. He says, bread and rice would be nice in the later rounds. What do you guys think? Which we'll get to that in a little bit here because that's Lucas. Yep. He like, no?
Perfect example of another guy that I would take over DJ Chark day one.
Okay. Booner, throw out your name. What do you got?
I have another name. Again, this is the hypothetical because as I'm going to stay, I am all in on drafting a receiver in the first 2 or 3 rounds. All in. I'm locked in on that. Like, give me someone. If they don't do it, though, how about a free agent out of Cincinnati, Tyler Boyd?
Yep. Now we're
Tyler
talking,
Boyd, he's my number 1, I think. Like I said, I think I put DJ Chark as my number 2 free agent just because there's not a lot of free agents out there to where if that's what you need to do. Tyler Boyd, though, he would be perfect. Exactly what you need on this offense, in my opinion. That just put him out wide and let that man just work. Let Amon-Ra do what he's already played with Jamar Chase, so he has an idea of how a guy like Amon-Ra plays. I'm sure he comes in and he'll come in and fit right in, boys. I don't know where you guys are at. He had 700 yards last year. Let me pull it up. 660, 700, 800, 800, 1,000, 1,000. I would pay the money for him.
Well, here's why I was with the DJ, because he could play the X. Isn't Boyd mainly a slot guy? Isn't he mainly?
Can you put him out? You can't put him out?
He's not can. But they had T. Higgins and Jamar. That's why he's not really a.
Put that man in an uncomfortable position if he wants to be great.
What?
Want to win a
Pressure makes diamonds. Pressure makes diamonds. Hey,
you want to win a Super Bowl?
Let's keep that same energy with every player, Boone.
Yeah.
I mean, I would prefer an X, but Tyler Boyd's a stud. What would you have to pay? What's his market?
They weren't willing to pay 7 for Josh. So what are we paying for Boyd? Yeah, 5? 4?
I just would be willing to overpay for another slot wide receiver. I mean, if it's an X, I mean, you could say you really need that, but I still wouldn't want to overpay for one, and I definitely wouldn't want to overpay for a slot, even though Tyler Boyd he's legit.
Man, people hate me for this one. I'm just a Tyler Boyd fan at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, Booner, because
move him
Tyler
around.
Boyd, I think he's not an X, but he is 5'11". He has decent size, but I think the whole thing with replacing Josh Reynolds with the free agent. I think if they draft a wide receiver, it's going to be somebody on the outside. It's going to be an X wide receiver that can develop. So you're taking that out of the equation. The thing that you're trying to replace is what you lost with Josh Reynolds, which is reliability, route running, hands, consistency. And Tyler Boyd fits exactly that. He was a wide receiver 1 in the days before they got Jamar Chase. And then he went all the way down to a wide receiver 3, ate all the ego because they brought in a 2nd-round pick to go with Jamar Chase in the name of T. Higgins. And Tyler Boyd was still extremely productive. There would be weeks where they would lock down T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, especially against the Ravens. It was the Tyler Boyd show. So I think that would be, it's not the best fit when you look at X's and O's, but as far as what the team gets, Tyler Boyd brings a lot of value.
A lot of people hate that as well. They don't like Chark. They don't like Boyd. We're all in on rookies, boys. Let's lock it in.
I'm not opposed. You guys know how I feel. I'm not taking one in the first round. Unless Brian Thomas is there. I mean, I feel at that point he's the best player. I get that, but I don't want one in the first round. The reason why I'm not huge on Boyd is just maybe because maybe I'm wrong here, but from when I watch Boyd, isn't he and Amon-Ra St. Brown kind of they're kind of similar? Maybe I'm off there, but they're both reliable. They put them in the slot.
Yeah, but that's what Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are. They're not two different. If you have 2 guys that can light it up inside the slot, let's say you have a package where you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Sam Laporta, and Tyler Boyd. You put JMO out wide because you can put 2 guys in the slot. You can find ways to motion him around, put him in tight packages where, he's not on the outside, but he's still kind of playing that X role because I was wrong. There's a comment. I thought he was 5'11". He's 6'1", 6'2". So again, he's not a player that plays above that frame, but he's still a very good player.
And it's also what to your point, Boone, it's also why people kind of pitch Lad McConkey is because of, even though him and Amon-Ra are kind of a similar talent, it's like, well, and what did Scott Bischoff say? He's a perfect perfect receiver for Jared Goff. I mean, to your point, maybe Boyd is kind of like that guy. He's a perfect receiver for Jared, just too reliable.
You got to think too. You add pieces to this, like Ben Johnson's going to find a way to make it work. At the end of the day, like he's going to find a way to make it work. Shout out Lance, by the way.
Yeah, shout out Ryan.
What a legend.
I love that, man.
I miss Lance. I want to give him a hug, man.
Well, and fellas, I think, whatever the Lions decide to do. And I saw this comment here. I want to address it because, again, it's from Michael. He says, why not the first round, Jeff, with how high the market is for wide receivers? Don't you want the fifth-year option if you draft a stud? And that, to be honest with you, Michael, if you believe that this player is far better than the pack that'll be in the second, third round, you can make that argument, certainly, because of the fifth-year option. That's where the league's heading with offense. I completely understand. I think where I'm coming from, Michael, is two things. One, I don't think it's – and again, this is me. I know Brad does BPA, and he may draft a wide receiver, but just based on my ideology, I would rather them trade up for an edge. I would rather them get a corner, even trade up for a corner, or even before wide receiver, I'm saying it, is go get a Jackson Powers-Johnson. Like I'm more on that. I would rather them do that because at least you have your franchise center, fifth-year option, and a guard. I get it's not the same market, Michael, but I'm just basing it off what the Lions desperately need. I'm not a huge fan of the first round. I look at second round guys, and I'm a fan of a lot of the players. Jalen Polk is someone I brought up. Booner, you love him as he's a stud. He's a guy you can get past the first round. There's going to be an Xavier Legette who I think you get past the first round. There's going to be a Brendan Rice who I think you get past the first round. So that's kind of where I'm coming from with that, guys. And you guys are going to know.
There is. Yeah, well, I think there is a chance that you do see a receiver in the first round because if you just look at who they visited with and who they talked with in the combine, there was only a couple receivers. One of them is a guy you would probably have to move up for, which is Brian Thomas Jr. And depending on how that meeting went, Brad, again, best player available, who's at the top of his list. When he meets with guys, if he falls in love with the guy, he's made it very well known that he will move up and he will chase out the guys, just like the Jahmyr Gibbs thing. He will chase a guy that he likes, and he will find a way to get the guys on his board. He met with the Brian Thomas. He met with the Xavier Legette. Right. Those are two guys. I think as of now, on the list that I've seen so far that keeps getting updated on these different websites, as of now, there's 4 wide receivers he met with. The only 2 that are projected, I believe, in the first 2 rounds is Brian Thomas Jr. and Xavier Legette. And obviously, there's more top 30 meetings that are going to come out throughout the next couple of weeks. But those are the 2 that they went in during the combine. They were like, hey, we want to meet with those guys that came out. So I think it's going to be, there's a chance you do see a Brian Thomas Jr. to Detroit just because of that. If he met with them and they loved him, he's a good enough ball player to go out there and like Brad be like, this is a guy we need. And he doesn't care about how many guys are at a position. He does not care. If he likes you, he's going to bring you into this organization. So that's why I've been pretty high on and I did the mock draft of trading up for Brian Thomas. Like, I think that's a very, very high possibility of if Brian Thomas falls to the 20s, he moves up and makes that move. I would not be shocked.
Would you guys, Jeff, Lucas, I know Booner, you had it in your mock draft yesterday and I missed that. I apologize if you guys talked about this, but would you guys hate if Brad Holmes traded up for a guy like Brian Thomas?
No, I honestly, if you're asking me, what do I want the Detroit Lions to do since they're sitting at 29? I think I want them to take a wide receiver first because then they can just focus on defense. You can focus on defense. There's guys like Max Melton in the 3rd round. I don't see, and this is a question but how much better is Kamari Lassiter or Kool-Aid McKinstry than Max Melton? And these are the guys that the Lions are being mocked to at 29, and I don't really think there's that much of a gap. And then after the Jared Verse and the Latus, if you don't trade up to get them, how much there is a gap between Darius Robinson, Adisa Isaac, Jonah Ellis, and all those guys? There's really not that much of a gap. So if you can go up and get a dude to take this offense to the next level and keep just adding depth to this defense is what they need at this point, because they don't need a bookend on the other side of Hutch. They just need a guy that can win one-on-ones. And I think there's, as pass rushing set goes, I think there's guys who are on a similar tier in those 2nd and 3rd rounds, and same with the cornerback position. It's sitting at 29, taking a corner. It's just one of those things where if he pans out, that's great. I just think it's way less likely compared to a wide receiver.
Yeah, and I think my thought process on it is, well, one, it's tough to answer that, and this isn't me copying because I will answer it, but you got to see who kind of falls. Like if Latu's in striking distance, Latu. You know,
Spot
like
on.
if an edge is in striking distance, like I'm sorry, I love Brian Thomas. Like you guys, I mean, we watched it at the combine; it was great. But you jump, you go get an edge. But Lucas made a great point there. But here's the thing with Max Melton. This is why I'm curious as the draft gets closer. And I know in PFF mocks he goes in the 3rd round. I think he'll be a top 40 pick, in my opinion. And I could be off on that, but I just from watching and how he performed and he's rising up. Like if he goes early, now I'm really worried.
I saw him in a mock in the 30s. I think might have been at like 32 or 30 or something. Like almost. I think I saw him in a mock in the 1st round. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Mel Kiper. I can't remember exactly who it was, but I was going through a bunch of different mocks and Max Melton popped up and I was thrown off a little bit because that was someone like when we do these mock drafts, we're snagging him in the 3rd round to where now it turns out potentially, and a lot of these guys, obviously they're not always right, but they have a feel of where GMs are kind of putting players and where these players land. The fact that there was a mock draft that I saw him go late 1st round, almost to start the 2nd, that does worry me a little that you're going to have to get him in the 2nd or trade up in the 2nd. So that's where I'm a little, I don't know. Yeah, I do think there's this situation with the wide receivers to Lucas's point in the 1st round. Do you guys remember last year in the draft? Obviously, like this year, it's a different wide receiver class because you have those top 2 or 3 guys. But like outside of that, like these 2nd tier guys, the Brian Thomas Juniors, like when you look at like that 2nd tier, do you remember last year JSN and Zay Flowers? They were like projected to go in the teens. I remember me and Lucas, I put some bets in and I took I think Zay Flowers as the 1st receiver off the board. And I think I also took him like under, it might've been like 18.5 or it was something like that. I thought he was going to go early and those receivers fell a little into the 20s. So if there's a chance this year, like a lot of these guys, we just never have a feel for the draft. Imagine if it's a deep tackle class too. Imagine if these guys start like jumping up into the teens, some of these players that we're not putting in there right now, and some of these wide receivers start to fall. Then you have to go wide. Best player available, you have to do it. You have to if it turns out like last year.
I want to answer this this question here because just to kind of give an update, Sarah asked, Booner, are you live streaming for the draft? What days too? We're going to be live downtown on Thursday for the 1st round, in which it will be a VIP party, and tickets are going to be on sale in the future. We're going to be advertising them. So as soon as we get the update, we're collabing with Questionable T, Scotty from Questionable Tees. He's the man. And we're going to do a live 1st round live show at Bookies downtown. So there'll be tickets to the event. It's going to be a blast. There'll be so many things included, special guests. So please stick around, be patient for that. So just want to give an update. So yes, we will be downtown. It'll be a lot of fun. But
we should be live for the other days as well, I believe. Not there.
Yeah, and we'll be live. Yeah, and we'll be live all throughout the draft, but at least live show, remote show, will be there for the 1st round. But every other show or every other round, we'll be doing live shows. Absolutely. And live the content will be freaking off the charts. So stick around for that. I do want to put this on the screen for you guys. This is from Jeremy Reisman. He put this out. I think this is on Apply to Detroit. They do like a free agency tracker, and we just got to give a moment of silence for all the former Lions that have fallen and left the Detroit Lions. We got tight end Zach Ertz, man, the
Lions legend.
Yeah, Lions legend. We got Josh Reynolds, Jonah Jackson, Matt Nelson. Wow. Another one. What a legend.
Oh my God. You guys remember Matt Nelson in the preseason last year?
Oh my gosh. Everyone hated him. Everyone hated him.
Despicable. It's like prime he made an active NFL roster.
I kind of felt bad a little bit for him, as much as like as a backup in the preseason, like he never was going to make the roster and people were just going at him like he was a starting tackle. It was crazy.
Well, we got Julian Okora, Benito Jones, Anthony Pittman, Chase Lucas, and the good old CJ Gardner-Johnson, who departed. So, yeah, I mean, the Lions, to be honest with you, you really even lose anybody, I think, worth. I mean, that's concerning, to me, at least. That's just my thoughts on it.
Besides Zach Ertz.
Yeah, Zach Ertz, I think, would be by far the worst one. But
got to put his jersey in the rafters.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real. I see Michael put this. What's the one pick that would make each of you walk out of the live stream at 29?
Do you want to be honest? Do you want me to be honest?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's a pick that can make me do that. I'm so far on the Booner path and this Brad Holmes train to where I could probably find a way to convince the people and bring whatever it is out as good. I will make sure I do that for the people that night. That will be one of my jobs.
I think I have two. And again, at the end of the day, Brad will probably prove me wrong if it happens. But if you give me Chop Robinson or Xavier Worthy at 29 for the night, I'm clocked out. I don't see the logic. Maybe in the coming days I will. But for that moment, I will lose my mind if the Lions take Xavier Worthy or Chop Robinson.
I would just say a tight end in general.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Any name tight end, I don't care who you are. If you're picked at 29, we're all gonna hate you. So, sorry about that.
I'm trying to think, like, what would make me be like, what the fuck are we doing? It's hard to say because, we have this mantra. It's like this, this thought process of like trust Brad Holmes. And then, so typically, even if he takes a fucking, whoever, we're going to be like, oh, we'll try and make rhyme and reason of it. But if I had to give you one, it would maybe Chop Robinson. But like it's not like I hate him. But position, anything other than edge, corner, or offensive lineman, to be honest.
Receiver, you would walk out?
Maybe not. I'll throw receiver in there too.
Okay, I was about to say.
If anything other than those, receiver I wouldn't like, but I wouldn't walk out. So that's a good question. Maybe like a linebacker, Peyton Wilson.
I think I'm not. That would be tough, dude. I don't think I'm like big on the Chop Robinson thing, but I think I would be able to sit there and be like, okay, we just got an edge to go on the other side of Hutch. How can this work? I know we all probably hate this. Brad sees something in this. Let's roll. Even though he hasn't been great drafting defensive linemen, but all right, boys.
Yeah.
It's what's that Transformers saying? Megabots assemble, or what is it?
Yeah, Megabots, bro. What type of Transformers are you watching?
I don't know. I was thinking of Calvin Johnson. I've got Autobots. Autobots roll out. That's all. It's all it is. All it is Booner path. Roll out. Let's go, boys. We're locked.
And that's fair. I totally forgot about Brock Bowers, but he won't be there at 29 either way. So if we pick a tight end outside of Brock Bowers at 29, that'd be fucking.
That's who Brad's trading up for. Brock Bowers, top 10 pick.
I mean, I'll say,
how are you stopping that?
I mean, I'll say if it's a position but it's not realistic though, so it's not fun. But like running back, I guess if they take a running back, that I'd be like, what are we doing? Like what? But it's not happening.
Running back would be brutal.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like a realistic, but that's why I said linebacker. Like, watch at 29, it's like BPA, Peyton Wilson. Like, I'd be like, what?
Edgerrin Cooper, bring him home.
If they did go back-to-back years linebacker in the first round, I would be a little like, and you just extended Anzo last year, I would be a little bit of a, that's tough.
I'd be like, what are we doing?
That's probably the one I actually would walk out on as a linebacker. Yeah. I probably would leave. I genuinely.
Just like draft a bunch of white linebackers. Like we got Peyton Wilson following Jack Campbell. Like let's roll out, man.
Have a gritty front seven for years.
Oh my god.
Brad's like one of them have to be good. One of them have to hit.
Yeah, well, one of them's got to be Luke Kuechly. One of them has to be Luke Kuechly.
We'll just draft linebackers until one hits.
Steve Wild. I would lose my fucking mind if we took Nate Wiggins at 29. That is like the most bust draft pick you have seen in your life. Nate Wiggins, undersized corner, going first round at pick 29 overall. Nate Wiggins should not be picked in the first round, and I'll stand on that.
And Lucas has had that take since day one, so he didn't just randomly switch up. He's always been against Nate Wiggins,
and I don't get it. Like I get like the weight,
he's never going to be healthy for a complete season. One, he's going to struggle getting off blocks. He's going to struggle making tackles. And I think he's going to struggle naturally with development because of injuries. And you're taking that in the first round? Fuck no. Not a chance.
How much does he weigh? What is he?
He weighs 170 pounds.
What's Max Melton?
I don't know, but you can't say he's only 5 over Nate Wiggins.
He's 5 over, but he's built completely different. There's whole stuff like Nate Wiggins is 6'2" or 6'3". He's like framey. You can weigh a little bit less if you're stocky because you can like just your frame. You got to have a decent frame to play defense in the NFL, and if you don't, good luck to you.
So was Nate Wiggins the Emmanuel Forbes of this year? Is that what we're going with?
I would say so, yeah.
I mean,
Jeff, rebuttal?
Well,
That's your guy.
Hey, I still like him. I still like Emmanuel Forbes. I know the weight was a problem. I will admit, but that's something that didn't scare me. I didn't think he'd go as high as he did. Emmanuel Forbes. I know when we did mock drafts, me and Adam would laugh at this because it's something we always said early second. But he went, middle of the first round. What do you go into? Commanders at like 17? No, what was it?
17 or 17, something like that.
And I still like Emmanuel. I know he played better towards the end, but it was rough. I mean, he was getting bodied. He was getting the weight was real. So it's a fair argument. I like if they take Nate Wiggins, I would not walk out. So, but Lucas has been consistent. So I
need a smoke break at the bare minimum.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
There's a law out there that you get one per show, I think.
Yeah.
It would make that.
Yeah, and I see Nate Wiggins. I mean, he was a top 15 pick that's now sliding, to the late first,
since the combine. He had the combine killed him, dude. It's like
dude got hurt running a 40. What do you think he's gonna do trying to tackle a tight end?
Yeah,
it's not gonna work out well.
Vision Stealth, thank you for the $2. Says Lucas is so angry he doesn't move.
Am I frozen?
You were, but you're good. Hey,
we're here.
We're here. We're grinding. Let's go, baby.
Hey, we're gonna get the internet fixed. We will. We can hear your voice. You're talking. So for podcast listeners, they don't even notice.
Yeah.
We got John joining in 2 minutes. I see the Where's John comments. Yep, it's Wednesdays with John Maakaron, who'll be joining us 8:45 to kind of talk about Josh Reynolds, like we already discussed, free agency, potential free agent destinations, the draft, so many things. So be patient for that.
I've got a lot of questions for him.
Lucas's Wi-Fi. Have you guys seen the video of quarterback Tavion McCarthy jump the vertical over 44 inches and saying he's not even tall? I just see a lot of I saw Malik Nabers, people slobbing over Malik, which again, he's a great player, but I see he's better than Marvin Harrison. I saw a lot of verticals that change people's opinions. Guy jumped.
We'll talk about that later.
I mean,
what a service to the sport.
We'll have that conversation.
Okay. Well, before John gets on, I want to say, and the chat knows better, but what are we doing here? I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't run the 40. Why is all of a sudden he's not the best receiver in this class? Like, what changed? Did they play football since the season ended?
I think what's happening around here. I talked to you earlier about this, Jeff. I think the thing is, you can't say he's going to be better than Marvin Harrison Jr. because you know what Marvin Harrison Jr. is. But you can at least have the conversation how close can Malik Nabers be? What is his potential in the NFL? Can he get there? Is there a chance? But just saying he's the best player, he's the best non-quarterback player in this draft that some guys are saying now, it's kind of crazy. I did see the report today that NFL executives are coming out and saying that, which is nuts to me. I think it might just be because he did test and Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't, but that's a tough mistake to make. You don't want to be that GM that looks back and takes Malik Nabers over Marvin. I guess it'll probably still work out because Nabers is very good, but it's tough.
Yeah,
Dan Orlowski started saying it, and then he slowly started walking it back because he started to sound crazy the more and more he went on. But
I don't understand. It makes no sense. To Jeff's point, what changed? And I understand that I'm biased because I'm an Ohio State fan, but Marvin Harrison Jr., in my opinion, is the best college wide receiver since Kelvin Johnson. And Malik Nabers could still be very, very good. But Malik Nabers is not 6'4" like Marvin Harrison for one. So intangibles, you give it to Marvin Harrison. Production, you give it to Marvin Harrison. Consistency, you give it to Marvin Harrison. Malik Nabers is very good, but everything that Malik Nabers can do, Marvin Harrison can do better, and that's just a fact. The whole reason why Marvin Harrison Jr. isn't going at these pro days or combines, they interviewed Marvin Harrison Sr., the Hall of Famer. It's because we're not worried about that. We're worried about playing in the NFL. We already know we can do all that stuff. What more does Marvin Harrison Jr. have to prove? He is the most polished wide receiver I've seen. I didn't even watch Kelvin Johnson play football in college at Georgia Tech. But since I've watched football, Marvin Harrison Jr. has been the best college receiver I've ever seen. And there's no risk of him
it feels like a little bit
into the NFL.
Before we move on, it feels like a little bit like if Malik Nabers was in any other draft class, he probably would be number one.
Yeah.
And now but the thing is, it's starting to like I get maybe some executives prefer him over. That's the news that came out today is some execs prefer him over Marvin Harrison Jr., which again, it's crazy. It to me now it feels like people are just downplaying what Malik Nabers is just because and that's not going at you, Lucas. It's like now it's like, do you see where I'm saying going here?
No, I just don't understand why people can make the assumption that he's better than Marvin Harrison. I'm not even trying. It's nothing to slight Malik, but like, what are we doing? Like,
yeah,
that's the same thing I felt about. That's it. It's not like a slight of Malik. I don't get what changed. It's just like
tough for him, man. It's tough
talking
for him.
heads. It's just talking heads. Oh, we got to think of something. Oh, well, Malik could be better than Marvin Harrison. Like, no, he's not.
I'm interested to see how they both do and where they go and how they both their careers end up. I'm very interested.
Yeah. I am as well. Well, you know what? It is that time. It's Wednesday. It's 8:45, 8:47 to be exact. And our good friend John Maakaron is going to join the program like he always does. It's Thursdays or Wednesdays, excuse me. See, I'm going back to my old ways, John. We'll welcome him in. We'll get Lucas back here shortly as soon as his editor comes back. But we got John Maakaron on the program. John, welcome to the show, brother. Hey, how's your week been? I know you were at Comerica Park. You're doing a little, you were covering some stuff for your website and the things you do. What you been up to last week, man? A lot of things have been happening for Detroit Lions fans.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, y'all asked me to level up. I'm gonna do the dangerous stuff here. This
stuff
is legendary good here.
Modelo.
Oh, you see, Lucas, he's a Modelo guy. He's a big Modelo guy. And that's so
Lucas has never looked better. So
that's what we want, John. That's what we want. Hold on.
That's what you want, brother.
I'll be back, fellas, but I had to comment on that.
Yeah, it's been a great week, man. I told you guys last week, if you go back and listen, had good news with Sports Illustrated. They showed a lot of love, and it was crazy. It was a crazy week to have a lot of people asking for the services of the doc to cover the Lions. I was shocked. I thought for a minute when SI was changing handlers and all the behind the scenes stuff, when management changes and stuff happens, you never know. Do they want you and value you?
Yeah.
But management from the old place came to the new place, and they showed a lot of love to the doc. And
let's go.
They showed a lot of love. So I'm going to be around for a long ass time doing this and having a good time covering the Lions. And yeah, first time ever. I did a little self-promotion online. SI's been doing a lot of good things over the last couple years. Finally, the Tigers invited me to come eat their food and check out.
I saw that.
That was great. It was the first time ever I got invited. I'm like, I'm moving on up in the world, turned 45, and my fortunes covering sports for the last 10 years has changed. Breaking news, doing more podcasts. So things have been good for the DOC. I'm always grateful, and I feel like the good fortunes that I've had, I'm just trying to pay it forward for everybody else. So I'm having a great ass time. I'm going to cheers to me and you, and I'm loving life at the moment.
Cheers, Doc.
That food looked great today too. That food looked awesome. I was following along.
A horse. I ate as much food as humanly possible. I didn't have to eat dinner. This is the first thing I ate. The first thing I put in my mouth since lunch. I ate that good. The food there was good. They took care of us.
Yeah.
Man.
Well,
Doc, what was your favorite thing before we get started? What was your favorite thing you ate at Comerica today?
Dude, he had some dishes.
The smash burger was good. The smash burger was really good, man. Cooked medium perfectly. And they served us alcohol, which was crazy. So I took a couple Casamigos and downed them with Matt and had a good time.
Fuck yeah.
Well, Doc, you know how we feel about you, Doc. We appreciate the hell out of you. We try to hold on to our Doc stock, I call it. Because again, we'll be able to cash that out at some point. But Doc, I do want to ask you. Breaking news today, of course, Josh Reynolds. We've talked with you about this before, and you kind of share the same sentiment we do. What's your kind of thoughts on it? He's joining the Broncos, 2-year, up to $14 million deal. Just your initial reaction. I know you wrote about it, which the links will be in the description. But just your initial thoughts on his departure and what it means for the Lions.
Yeah, reportedly Brad lowballed him. And we talked about it. You asked me a couple weeks ago, I believe, and I believe that what I told you was pretty accurate. And now it bared fruit. It bared to be true. Josh Reynolds wanted to take the best offer. And clearly, when you're 29 years old, you're not going to have that many opportunities to make multi-year deals and the money that he made with the Broncos. And I just feel like the Lions had a certain number for him. They weren't going to budge off of it. And when you realize if you're Josh Reynolds, the opportunities in Detroit were just dwindling. You got Antoine Green, DPJ that re-signed, Laporta, Gibbs, all going to get more touches along with JMO. So if you're Josh Reynolds, you realize, okay, I'm not feeling the love in Detroit anymore. And he went to a spot that potentially he could succeed with. I think that clearly Sean Payton will utilize him to the best of his abilities, and good for him. Up to $14 million. I think he cashed the deal. And for the Detroit Lions, they move forward. I don't think they're going to miss him too much because the replacement there, the Lions offense has the opportunity to do a lot of good things. And you're hearing that the Lions are doing a lot of work on the receivers that are coming out in this draft. There's a deep class, so there's an opportunity to add a replacement as well. So Josh, everyone thanks you for your service, but it was time to move on.
Doc, I want to get into the other side of the ball here, the corner situation, the Cam Sutton thing. We did talk about it when you were on last week a little bit, because obviously it was all a little fresh and everything was going down. Like a week out of it now, Dan Campbell and Brad, they both spoke with media. Seemed like a little bit, at least here on our show, how we took it. They both seem to be, I don't want on different pages, I guess is a good way to say it. As Dan said, there's some urgency to add another corner, and Brad came out and said, I'm comfortable, and I like the battle we have with the Meek and Carlton Davis. And then when Mosley comes back, he likes that battle. Do you see them? What do you see going on there? Obviously, a lot of people think the draft is going to be the place they add, but there is like the crowd of get Stephon Gilmore, go get a vet. Do you think they do that, or do you think it's kind of done after those comments and they just go draft?
Yeah, it was kind of funny to hear the conflicting. If you're Brad Holmes, you're like, Dan, be quiet. That just added $2 million to the request from the agent. Dan's like, we need a corner. We're desperate. Look who we got. Look at this. And Brad's like, we're good. We got this. So it's funny to hear, but clearly they need a cornerback or two more to this roster. You realize that there's a lot of risk involved with Emmanuel Mosley, and you recognize that, look, even though Amik Robertson is the little engine that could, and he's only 5'8", Lukas is probably taller than Amik Robertson. He's a gamer, obviously, but he's 5'8", and he's undersized. And look, in the end, I'm curious to see how the new rule regarding the banning of the hip drop tackle, how that affects tackling and what these teams do. Because to me, if you're looking for somebody in the draft now based on the new rules that were brought up in regards to the kickoff rule and the hip drop, you know what? I think it brings cornerback Cooper DeJean into play at 29. I think he's a gamer. I think he can be a special teams contributor as well, very versatile. Obviously, Jack Campbell told me that Cooper was a dog when he made plays at Iowa. So in my mind, I think that you probably look to the draft and you probably look for best player available at number 29. But at the same token, I'm not thrilled with, Stephon Gilmore. I know everybody loves that, Adoree Jackson, all those names that are out there, by now, if you kind of can tell if teams haven't picked them up already, then they're probably not all that great. So in my mind, I look at it like it's still a position of need, and you need to add probably one, maybe even two more. And we'll see how this is going to play out. It's a key position. We all know it.
Big time.
Yeah, John, you kind of brought it up a little bit, the kickoff changes. How would those changes, or how could those changes rather, benefit the Lions? And just what are your thoughts on them banning the hip drop tackle?
Yeah, I hate it. I mean, they've made football a sport for pussies. I mean, come on. We can't tackle. You can't hit. You can't do this. You can't breathe on a quarterback. It's like, in my mind, I looked at it like I was a fan of the sport when Brian Urlacher was there, and the linebacker position was valued, and you could hit quarterbacks and light them up. The highlights on ESPN when the quarterback would get lit up or big hits. And nowadays you can't. It's like the football is not as, the pure violence of the sport is not as there. It's not as fun. And this is going to cause chaos because the Lions are going to record a great tackle and it's going to be a violation. It's going to involve a lot more subjectivity with the hip drop because people got to learn more now, the new way of doing it. And it's going to cause a lot of confusion based on the ways people were taught. It's really ridiculous. It's pointless, especially when the players come out and say, we don't want it. And so I understand. Look, in the end, guys, the brain injury and CTE lawsuits, when the league started paying money for former players that had long-lasting injuries, it turned the sport around. Now everything is looked at as, how do we protect the players so that we don't got to pay out our ass to these players when they're 55? So that's what's happening, and it's ruining the sport in my mind a little bit. It's just a joke, like everybody would say. The kickoff, you know, what I'm fascinated with, it does look a little corny when you see how it looks, but I think for the Lions, you can take advantage because you have some speedsters. Maybe that involves Jahmyr Gibbs or JMO taking a couple kicks back. I know Raymond and the likes of Maurice Alexander could do it as well. But I think the Lions will. Dave Phipp is a wizard. He'll find ways to take advantage of it. And what you've seen, if you watch XFL football, there's opportunities now for more opportunities to break some kickoffs. And we all saw last year, it was terrible. It was, the kickoffs were basically a formality, no drama, no intrigue at all. So this kickoff rule, in my mind, I'm in favor of it. I think it's going to provide more excitement, maybe more opportunities to see some starters get back there and get some field opportunity, get some good field position. Special teams, baby. It's important, and Dan Campbell values it. So you know he's in the lab with Dave Phipp right now going, how can we get that extra 20 yards in a key moment?
Shout out Dave
So
Phipp.
Absolutely, the Lions are going to take advantage. You know it.
Yeah, John, sorry for not being able to be here at the beginning of the show. My Wi-Fi was fucking up per usual, but something that with all these moves being made, that's not being talked about as much as going into the offseason is the extension of Jared Goff. And we talked about it a lot over the last couple of episodes. Have you heard any updates on that? Do you think it's going to get done soon? Do you think it's not going to happen at all this offseason? Where does that stand as of right now?
As it stands right now, best way to put it is when you're crunching those kind of numbers, you're going through it with a fine-tooth comb. So if it happens, I would say probably just before training camp, late July, August, you'll see it get done. I think that for sure it's a priority. When Dan Campbell says it's an organizational priority, clearly what's happening, you know what's happening. Jared Goff's camp's like 51, and Brad Holmes like, how about 45? And then Jared Goff's camp's like, how about 50? And then Brad Holmes' camp is like, how about 45-1? And they're working their way to that magic number of probably 47.5. So Jared Goff has to ask for the world. So that's the way these negotiations go. The agent's like, pay my man his money. He earned it. And Brad's like, I want to save a little bit here so he can have some players. So do you want Jared Goff? And they're having these conversations. It takes forever. A contract of this magnitude is not going to get done fast. I do see it getting done with everybody being happy, but right now they're in the war room battling out for the numbers, and in negotiation, you want both parties to feel good. But Jared Goff's agent sitting back going, probably need a 5 in that starting point. And Brad's probably like, I really need a 4, man. I need a 45, 47.5. And they're looking at years, terms. It's intricate in regards to the signing bonus, how much is guaranteed, the years. Maybe Brad will throw in a free year if they lower it a little bit. So it's intricate to do these negotiations. They don't just happen fast. So I would always love that be the best is when I just want to hear the bullshit that the teams will say to try to bring the number down. Well, Jared's not that mobile. And, in the big games, he kind of does this and that and stuff like that. All haggling over $2.5 million. So it's fun to see. It'll happen. Brad loves him some Jared Goff. It'll happen. Probably look for it. Probably July, August.
Of course, we're talking to the publisher of All Lions and host of the Detroit Sports Podcast, John Maakaron, who joins us every Wednesday at 8:45. The Doc. Well, John, you it's a good transition because you talked about the extension, and we had a conversation over the last couple of days. It's been a random, it's the off season. We like to spark different conversations, and obviously with the Jared Goff extensions kind of looming, and we're all expecting it to get done. The big thing for me is the length and how it affects Hendon Hooker. And I'm not saying you change everything you do for a guy that you don't know what kind of potential he has, but John, I've been a fan of what he can be in the NFL. And I want to ask you, how do you think, and from your point of view, obviously we don't know Brad Holmes and his approach, and we don't know what they think of Hendon Hooker because he was hurt most of last year, and you'll get more action this year to see what he is. But how do you think Brad approaches a situation like that, where you have a stable starter, but you also have like kind of an unknown entity, or and I shouldn't say unknown, but somebody you don't know what he can be in the pros. And now you're seeing the value of having, of course, a rookie contract. I mean, the Bears are spending, the Texans are spending. How do you think Brad should approach this? Because I just think it's not about picking a side to me, John. Like, I think when people have this conversation, it's like, oh, you like Hendon, so you hate Goff. No, I do. I like Goff. But I just think the Lions shouldn't, Brad Holmes shouldn't put all his eggs in one basket. Is that unfair for me to say? Where are you at with it?
Not at all. I think that a lot of people are looking at this and saying, well, could you get success at a much cheaper rate with Hendon Hooker? Before I get into all that, it's a really good, loaded question, and I have a lot of thoughts about it. I want to cheers to Mike Reed. Yes, Doc is a legend, and
Let's
I appreciate
go.
the chat always lights up. I love seeing the stuff that you guys post on there. So ask away. These boys will ask me a couple questions from the chat. Look, Hendon Hooker's a backup plan, but he's inexperienced. You don't turn the keys over for a Ferrari to a 15-year-old. You just don't do it. Doesn't have any experience. So you cannot realistically say, I'm going to turn over a team poised to take a 2024 season and get to the Super Bowl and win it and think that Hendon Hooker's the answer. He's a developmental player, strictly, period. Look, they brought back Nate Sudfeld probably to compete with him. But I look at it like Jared Goff probably starting points 4 years. The man's done it. I mean, the man has showed you he can win playoff games. It's a lot of different debates in regards to, do I believe that Jared Goff can win a Super Bowl? Probably not. In regards to the fact that there's so many great quarterbacks out there in the AFC, and it's going to take a Herculean effort in order for the Detroit Lions to take that huge leap. I mean, like I said, I haven't seen it in my own eyes. It would be a shock to ever imagine the Lions winning the Super Bowl. You need a quarterback in this day and age that is a combination of athletic and can throw the football deep and is a wizard in those late moments. You need those combinations. But look, that doesn't mean that you can't build a good football team around Jared Goff. He's an elite starter. He's a guy that can win you playoff games. And that's capital if you're Jared Goff. You're Jared Goff, your agent, you're like 30 years, no playoff wins. My man comes here and you built around him, and this football team has embraced Jared Goff. He's gritty. He embraces the challenge. He embraces the fact that he was dumped from one situation and took over another and had success. So in my mind, do I believe he deserves the break the bank money? No. So in my mind, you give him 4 years at $47.5 million and you call it a day. And I think that there's not a lot of risk involved in doing that. It's a situation in which you got a safe quarterback that you can trust. Give him a good running game, good O-line. He'll navigate, and he'll be a safe quarterback that can win you a lot of games. You're going to need him, in my mind, to take that next step to be able to be elite in the postseason and raise his game even more. And there's a chance he could do that. I think there is a chance in those kind of big moments he can get to the Super Bowl, and then all bets are off. Like I said, to me, winning the Super Bowl is a dream scenario that involves like heavenly fairy tales to believe that the Lions win the Super Bowl. To me, like I said, with Patrick Mahomes out there, with Lamar Jackson getting reinforcements, with Joe Burrow and the level of quarterbacks that are coming, it's just a situation in which the athleticism that you have with Jared Goff is not there. But Hendon Hooker is still raw, no NFL experience. So in my mind, Jared Goff is in the driver's seat, can leverage the Lions to the max. But in the same token, if things do fall off with Jared Goff, I don't believe that the Lions will be so heavily, devastated that they'll be. Look, if you saw what happened with Russell Wilson, an organization was willing to pay north of $70 million dead cap money to get rid of a guy. So in my mind, if Jared Goff falls off, then I think you hope that Jared Goff at least gives us 1 or 2 more years so that Hooker can develop and you can see what you got with him. But you still don't know what you got in your backup right now.
Yeah, 4 years. Hey, that's something new, John.
4 years.
The 4 years. Okay. All right. It's such a great. The reason why it's interesting. Before Booner, he's got one for you. Is just the situation. Like this offense, the staff, the offensive line, the run game, the weapons. And again, you are correct about the unproven commodity. It's fair. It's going to be interesting to see this preseason. You'll get to see a little bit of them. So I guess we'll have to wait.
I think
real fast, Jeff. When you look at it from Jared Goff's perspective, why would you take a shorter term deal? You deserve to break the bank. You brought 2 playoff wins to the city. You embody everything that Dan Campbell would like. The offense has been built. You got Ben Johnson turning down jobs to work with Jared Goff. And I just think that if you're Jared Goff, you want years, you want security, stability, you want a hefty signing bonus as a reward. First and foremost, you got to remember, Jared in 2021 worked with guys that are unheard of to run this offense. He took a beating, and he stood there, he stood tall, and was able to rebound, was not a malcontent. He weathered it all, stood in front of the media like a man and handled it all, and he rebounded and was able to bring Detroit things that we haven't seen in ages. I mean, if you're Jared Goff, you have so many things from a leverage standpoint, to get as much money in years as you can. There's no way you don't ask for it. There's no way that you don't ask for a hefty contract from the Detroit Lions. She's 29 years old.
Hey, John, put some respect on Terrell Williams' name, though. You know what I mean? Like, what
was
right.
it?
Was that the wide receiver?
Williams, yeah.
Anthony Daryl Hodge.
Anthony
Daryl Hodge starting.
Daryl Hodge.
I mean, Doc, I think me and you are lockstep when it comes to the Hendon or the Jared Goff Hendon Hooker thing. I've been getting a lot of comments on my Twitter. People, we want to see Hendon Hooker. It's just shocking to me that there's so many people that months ago were chanting Jared Goff, and those same people now are like, let's see Hendon Hooker. Let's see Hendon Hooker. Shocking to me. But me and you are lockstep. I want to ask this when it comes to Jared Goff, though. Building around Jared Goff, the offseason of Brad Holmes. Brad mentioned the other day that he felt like it was his best offseason he's had so far, free agent class, everything that since he's been in Detroit. Marcus Davenport, Carlton Davis, Kevin Zeitler, DJ Reader, a lot of these guys. Are you kind of in that same? Did you feel like it was his best offseason so far to kind of improve this football team and a team that could probably go, hopefully go to a Super Bowl with what he brought in?
No doubt about it. I thought that when you look at it, last season was interesting, obviously getting CD Deuce, but unfortunately he took a swing last year and the injury bug took over. I thought last year had a chance to be more successful with Mosley and CD Deuce. But yeah, when you look at the needs that were there for the Lions, you add a couple of defensive backs, you add a couple of defensive linemen and a veteran offensive lineman to take over for who left in Jonah Jackson. Yeah, he should be happy that it was okay. Do I believe that it's something where you need to gloat about it? No, I just think that you did lose some pieces too. You can't discount losing Josh Reynolds. He had a connection with Jared Goff, security blanket. He made big plays. He was all over the field at different spots, XYZ, doing all the things that he needed to do, made plays. Yeah, the ending was sour, but he had a connection with Jared Goff. You can't discount that. It's taken Jameson Williams well over 12 months, and they still don't arguably have the connection that Josh Reynolds had with Jared Goff. CD Deuce is gone. You lose Jonah Jackson. So in my mind, you at least are similar in terms of talent in regards to situations in which you needed some replacements. And with 30% overhaul, you're going to need to find guys that are reliable, affordable, and fit the culture. You can't have too many Cam Suttons running around your place there. You're going to have those meetings and you got to have those kind of uncomfortable talks if, your guy working out in your facility is getting caught doing some things legally that he's not supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So in my mind too, the thing that we all can love and really respect is you got to take into account the growth of the second-year players, Jack Campbell, Gibbs, and Laporta. The value of those guys getting better is going to be so integral to this team. And then you're going to add some more developmental pieces who don't even have to play. You're probably going to add 4 or 5 guys that are going to be more cornerstone pieces. You got a dozen guys that you can name that are cornerstone guys. You're building a foundation which can last. So, man, it's unbelievable that Brad Holmes has said it. He uses free agency to fill needs, and that's what he did. And now all we got to do is toast and pray these dudes stay healthy. Whoever you got to pray to, figure it out and double down. If this team stays healthy, they'll be okay. But at the same token, that if you're the medical personnel department, stock up on the tape, stock up on those extra tables, because there's going to be some guys that'll be sitting on there at some point during the season.
I would love to see a full season healthy Marcus Davenport. I would love to see a full season. Look at what he did when he played. Lucas,
you had that with Romeo Quora.
Lucas just picks guys and hates them and doesn't even think about the other side. Marcus Davenport, in games he's played, he had a season where he played 11 games and 9.5 sacks. He had a season last year.
What happened last year?
He played in 4 games and had 2 sacks. That's a pretty good rate to me, if you ask me. Stay healthy, get sacks.
4 games sounds terrible to me. Anyway, so we don't.
That's what I said. If he stays healthy, guess what? That man's going to bring you some sacks.
Yeah.
You don't like sacks? 4? You don't like sacks, Lucas?
Yeah, I just like a guy that can actually get to the pass.
Romeo Quora, 13 games, 2 sacks. Marcus Davenport, 4 games, 2 sacks. How about those? How about that data for you?
How many?
What, like 12, 13 games for Romeo Quora?
How many
2 sacks? 2?
How many sacks? And
4 games. 4 games
Marcus?
and 2 sacks. 4 games and 2 sacks for Marcus.
He's got a point.
4 games.
2 sacks.
How about that for data?
2 sacks each.
How about that for data? Gentry, go ahead.
All right, John. Colin Cowherd had a quote. I think it was earlier on in the week. He said, "Reckless has never hosted a trophy. A trophy. Holy shit!" But do you think he's talking about Dan Campbell? Obviously, do you think Dan ever wavers from that? And do you agree with that statement?
Man, I respect Colin Cowherd, and I know a lot of people in the chat respect Colin Cowherd, but I think he's wrong on this one. Look, listen, Dan Campbell got to where he is learning from Sean Payton. Yes, more often there are times maybe he should take points, but he's never going to blast Brad Holmes. You can't take points when your kicker you just aren't confident in just yet. Now they keep bringing him back. I'm curious to see if Badgley stays on this team or does he keep getting cut. But look, Dan Campbell came from the school of being ultra aggressive. There are times in football where that benefits you in terms of extra possessions. Do I think he's reckless at times? Yeah, you could argue that. But at the same token, if you're Dan Campbell and you have this offense and you trust the guys that you have, you know, the old model, and look, analytics plays a part too. These analytic nerds, they sit in their computer and they type it up and they're like, go for it. So, you know, he takes that into serious consideration. I do think that in different spots, maybe different play calls will take place, but and different field position. Clearly, sometimes when Dan would go for it on 4th down and, you know, on his own side of the field, maybe that is a little bit reckless and he does kind of adapt a little bit. But in terms of the frequency, I think he's going to go for it and he's going to continue. You look at it, and the thing that people are going to pay attention to is, did he learn a lot from the San Francisco game in terms of what happened in the second half? Did he get stung by that? I know people, it's easy to say, don't be aggressive, but these guys are programmed, man. He's wired. He wants to go for it. And you got that offense. It's hard to argue if Reynolds doesn't drop it. Lions are having some success there in regards to what's going on there. So in my mind, I just, I don't know if Dan will ever concede. I don't know. It'll be tough if he does, if he adapts with older age. I just see a guy that learned under Sean Payton, and with Sean Payton, it was go, onside kicks, fake punts, and you put your opponent to the test. But in my mind, that's the only thing that you can really debate with Dan Campbell in regards to his coaching is, when does he select to kick field goals? But in the end, would you be confident kicking 50-yard field goals with the guys that they got? So they're still rolling with them, but I'm wondering why the kicking situation has not been as proficient as you think it should be. Maybe they take one in the draft. Maybe the opportunity that Brad Holmes saw the kicker there, maybe he's like, okay, we get some competition, some real competition. He did say they're adding a kicker to battle Badgley, so we'll see.
I love that. I love that.
Maakaron's coming back, baby.
Competition. But I think Colin Cowherd is more old school, and it's hard to see these new school coaches going pedal to the metal all the time.
Yeah, John, and a question that we kind of talked about before you came on here was, now that Josh Reynolds signs in Denver, is there any veteran wide receivers that are on the free agent market that sparked your interest that you think the Lions could possibly pursue? Or do you think they're strictly going to go in the draft to kind of replace that, to go with the Donovan Peoples-Jones, Khalif Raymond, and Jamison Williams supply they already have?
DJ Chark's out there, John. He's floating around out there.
Yeah, DJ Chark. Let's bring Quandre Diggs back too. Offense, defense, bring the brand back together. No, I don't think they target no free agent wideouts. The draft class, you're hearing the Lions are doing a lot of work on him. I've been watching film on Troy Franklin, big-bodied receiver, super speedy. Didn't really work out well at the combine, but the Oregon wideout, man, he's looking good, looking solid. You look at this draft class, man, there's a lot of wideouts that can do things at all different days of the draft. And guys, you look at it, I know everyone is looking at the production loss from Josh Reynolds, but Antoine Green, Jamison Williams picks it up, more targets to Gibbs and Laporta. You're not going to miss Josh Reynolds all that much. So in my mind, you go get a wide receiver in the draft and you develop them. In my mind, Keon Coleman always suits a personal need there, being a Spartan, big-bodied guy. Troy Franklin maybe in later rounds. But my goodness, could you imagine if the Lions just get lucky and get one of those top wideouts that falls in a spot? Oh, my goodness. You look at it and you say, this offense was so sick before. Could you imagine Xavier Leggett in this situation? Could you imagine a Ladd McConkey on this football team? Come on. There's a lot of guys that can come in and be something that contributes to this football team. And in my mind, hey, what about Roman Wilson? What do you think? Some guys later on in rounds that people don't typically think, maybe Brad Holmes will take a chance on someone that doesn't even have to play. But at the same token, this offense I have no questions about the Detroit Lions offense. It's coming back. It's going to be light 'em up city. And Josh Reynolds is just a cap casualty. No doubt about it.
Well, John, we got some questions here from a couple of members. We'll get to. But we'll start us off with ETN's question, and it says question. And I love Colin Cowherd. I didn't know this was a thing. It was we'll get to a question.
Wow.
Thoughts on Colin Cowherd putting the Vikings in his top 10 teams?
Is that true?
Top 10? You don't lose a quarterback and roll with Sam Darnold and think you're rolling.
He loves Sam Darnold, though.
I know.
Sam Darnold.
Listen. When you go to California and you're sunny surfing and doing all your thing, you're not watching as much film as we are. The Vikings are taking a step back. Justin Jefferson's sick, but at the same token, you realize that they are not a top 10 football team. The teams like Etienne said, Texans, Bengals. Oh my God, what a Dolphins. No way. Colin Cowherd is maybe partaking in the California, greenery situation. No, absolutely not.
All right, that's fair. Alan W has a question too. Is Houston and Davenport our solutions for DN opposite of Hutch, or do you see us addressing that this offseason?
Further, yeah, I think they're going to continue to look at. You never have enough pass rushers in the NFL. Never. You look for them, you find them in the draft, and you continue it. Houston, Davenport, I think definitely guys that they're going to roll with early on in the season, but look for a young defensive end coming in from the draft that also can get some time, some reps later on in the year. No doubt about it. That's the key. Who plays opposite Hutch better contribute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no question. And then the last one from Bon J says, Mailbag, do you think MCDC will gamble less if he has a reliable kicker? Something I often think about, John.
Yeah, it's been crazy because the last 3 years going out there to Allen Park, it's been watching the kicking competition. It's just one week one guy's hot, then the next week the other guy's hot. The infatuation with Patterson and Badgley, I would blow them both out and go find a kicker in the draft. I don't think that I would be loyal to the money badger. Riley Patterson has been in and out. I don't think we haven't been really as tough on Dave Phipp and the Lions about the kicking situation because the offense has been so proficient, but the kicking situation is not stable. It was, they didn't need it. They didn't really feel like they wanted to utilize something in an opportunity when it could have been a strength for this football team. Not a significant issue, but in those critical moments, the opportunity where you can send a kicker out there. In the end, how valuable is it for Baltimore to have Tucker? He's out there, 3 points. It's peace of mind. And in football, when you have solutions, it just makes things so much easier not to have to worry about that decision.
Yeah, no question. Good stuff, John. We appreciate you taking the time as always. Of course, you can follow John. We have the links, all links in the description. Of course, host of the Detroit Sports Podcast, and of course, publisher of All Lines, which All Lines is around. They're going to be here for a while. All right, it's real estate here for All Lines. We appreciate you, John. Keep up the good work, and we'll talk to you next week. All right.
I'm looking forward to it, boys, man. It's going to be a good week to recap everything with the owners meeting and football. Maybe, man, one more free agency move coming up. Stay tuned to All Lions for all the coverage, and it's going to be here for a while. Like I told you last week, it was a fun week to keep being part of the community, and you boys are rocking it. I always enjoy the shows, always enjoy the spaces with Adam and Jeff. Are you flirting around already, Jeff? I know that you're a guy that doesn't like to stay one place too long.
No,
so I'll be paying attention.
Hey, to be fair, Adam is my boy. That's my boy. So I got to do the spaces with him. We have some fun over there. Hey, I was at Woodward for about 4 years. All right. So it's kind of a long time, decent long time. Would have been there longer, but yeah, you know, things happen. But anyway, we'll see. Thanks, John. We appreciate you.
Shout out to Doc.
John Maakaron,
appreciate you, Doc.
Doc. Love that man, dude. That dude, protect him at all costs. Protect him at all costs. Yeah, he had some pause moments at the end there, but hey, that's why we appreciate John.
Forgot what he said. He said blowing the back out of something.
Hey, but that's why we love him.
That's why Booner leads from the front, so he's not doing
always. That. Mm-hmm. Well, let's.
That is a normal saying. Is lead from the front.
All right, we're not getting. This is a rabbit hole. We just can't. Michael's here for it.
Where are the boys at? Oh yeah, there we go.
I didn't know you guys actually talked about that. Like,
dude, it's
Roman
like
it's
just such a normal saying. If you ever played sports and been around coaches, like lead by example, lead from the front. If you're running sprints, don't be in the back. If you're a leader, be in the front, lead from the front. It's such a normal saying in sports and in life. The fact that these guys have never heard lead from the front just blows my mind. Blows my mind.
I feel like I've heard of it, but I swear it was lead from the back, like a undercover leader or something.
Dude, it's lead from the front, boys. I don't know what else to say here.
Well, you know who leads this Lions organization into battle for the draft is Brad Holmes, right? And I have a mock draft from PFF here. And I thought it was interesting. We'll get your guys' reaction to just who they have the Lions taking. And to no one's surprise, what is with the Kool-Aid McKinstry love here? I mean, he's in every mock we.
I thought it was Troy Franklin at first. I was like, what are we doing here?
This man is in every mock. I mean, you have Tyler. I'll just go through. It's only the last 7 picks. So at 25, Tyler Guyton, offensive tackle to the Packers. Nate Wiggins goes 26. There's their Carlton Davis replacement. Jared Verse at 27. If Jared Verse is there at 27,
make a move.
You trade everything in the kitchen sink. You go get him. All right,
go
get him. You go get him. And then you have Adonai Mitchell at 28, 29. Kool-Aid McKinstry to the Lions. And then at 30, Kingsley. Who is he's rising up draft boards too. Offensive tackle, Ladd McConkey at 31, and then Troy Franklin at 32. Kool-Aid McKinstry, man. I mean, Jared, I want to say this real quick before we get into Kool-Aid, and I agree with ETN. There's no way in hell Jared Verse is there at 27.
Well, I think there's 2 things on this list that aren't going to happen. It's Jared Verse at 27 and Troy Franklin at 32. So let's just get that right real quick, because Troy Franklin isn't going to go with 32 to the Chiefs. Promise you that. They would rather draft Xavier Worthy than Troy Franklin.
Keon would go before.
There's so many more players that would go at 32 over Troy Franklin. We saw Troy Franklin in person, and it just didn't really hit like that. I don't know. I like the Kool-Aid thing. I think that's like a situation to where BPA, like that's him. It is Kool-Aid. You know what Kool-Aid is. Brad missed Michigan's pro day to go to Alabama. He said it was intentional, that he wanted to go see. He said, I got to see Michigan play Ohio State this year. I never got to see Alabama play. I wanted to go down there and see Alabama, some guys from Alabama. So I think there is something to say. I don't think it means like there's like he's for sure going to Alabama, but like he doesn't go to a lot of pro days. He said it himself that he's a busy guy and he doesn't get to a lot of pro days on his own. And he took time to go to the Alabama one. So I think he wanted to see Kool-Aid McKinstry and those guys there. So I think that's a legit, if he's there at 29, I wouldn't be shocked if Brad's like, we do need corner. He's at the top of my BPA list here.
Yeah. He loves Bama boys.
Oh yeah. Putting him with Brian Branch. That's beautiful.
I'm all for Kool-Aid McKinstry, but the whole Jared Verse thing and like him falling that late, I see more and more mock drafts. I know in ours, when we did the full mock draft, I passed on him for Latu. It's not to say that Jared Verse has to go that early. People are coaches rather could have a different edge on their big board rather than him. And I've seen it more and more times that he is falling to that late. So I really don't think it's that crazy to see him in the mid-20s like that. And I don't know, everyone seems to point it out, but I really don't think it's that crazy.
Lucas, would you rather have Kool-Aid McKinstry or Darius Robinson?
Darius Robinson. And it's like,
okay,
I don't hate Kool-Aid guys, but honestly, he does not move the needle for me as far as the draft pick at 29th overall.
Really?
And again, he's not a bad player, but nothing on his tape jumps out to me. There's nothing that he does that I think is on an elite level. So I think you're drafting him at 29 to be a very solid player. And I think you just get more value doing that at defensive end. That's the whole thing where it's just like, if you're asking me Kool-Aid McKinstry or wide receiver, I'm going to lean wide receiver because I think there's guys in the second and third round that aren't as coveted as Kool-Aid McKinstry because they're not playing at Alabama. And I know Brad went down to the pro day, but you can think, oh, maybe does he possibly want to move up for Terrion? Does he looking at Chris Braswell? He's looking at Jermaine Burton on the outside. So I think he does have some eyes on Kool-Aid. But I'm not the biggest Kool-Aid fan. It's not really him as a player. It's just him at 29. I'm not for. If you're talking about Kool-Aid in the second round, I'm all for it because that's where I think he should be drafted. But
yeah,
it's a little high. I'm not going to hate it and be like, Brad, what are you doing? But honestly, I just think there's ways to improve this team more at 29th overall.
I want Booner and you, John, I just want to say this. My whole thought on Kool-Aid is there's a couple corners that I like a lot. I mean, I brought up Kamari Lassiter a while ago. I still like him a lot. He's probably going to be a second round guy. I just, I get your point. Like, it's a fair point. Where I'm coming from is if you draft a wide receiver at 29 and you draft a corner at 29, I think the corner would have more of an impact than the wide receiver would.
I think if both of them hit how they should, yes, you're absolutely right. Like, I think that's the ideal situation. But I just think if you look at the cornerback position over the course of the NFL draft, at post pick like 25, there's really not that many there. You look at pretty much every other position you could go to because corner outside of quarterback is the hardest sport or hardest position to play in the sport. I'm just not with it. Like I said, it's not a bad pick by any means. Right. I just think there's more value when we talk about the corners in the second and third round. You could potentially get a Chris Abrams drain in the third round. It sounds like, oh, you're taking a corner in the third round, but yeah, that sounds bad at draft time. But 2-3 years down the road,
right?
That's what you're going to be looking at. That's why I think getting caught up in this whole first round, second, like that's why I love that Brad Holmes take the best player, even if we agree with it or not, because there's more chance it pays off down the road.
Yeah, that's fair.
To that point, Lucas, is like Kool-Aid, and as deep as the wide receiver class is, like if Kool-Aid's there, it's like, do you remember the conversation we had a couple of weeks ago when it came to, I think it was defensive, I think it was D ends and corners as well, to where it felt like there was less D ends in this draft and more, no, I think it was D ends and receivers. It felt like there was more D ends than wide receivers, to where if you're trying to get value and you're going best player available, most likely it's probably better to go Kool-Aid if he's still available at 29, because he's going to be better than any of the corners you get in the second, third round. Like, that's just like,
that's where I disagree. I
think there's like you said, there's a quicker drop off in corner than just a wide receiver, to where if you can get to the third round and second round and still get a really good wide receiver and it's not as big of a drop off, why wouldn't you do that when it comes to like best player available? Go, hey, we can get a better wide receiver in the second. The drop off to corner comes quick, especially like with Brad, who's like, I want to make sure if I like a corner, I'm going to take him. If Brad feels like there's a drop off, and Kool-Aid's that drop off, why wouldn't he? You know, I would rather have him do that and go get someone in the second, a receiver if Leggett falls or someone falls, and do that.
And I get that, but my thing is just looking, and I get that's what people are saying, but watching the players and not getting caught, like watching them, because that's what Brad's doing. He's not paying attention to these news headlines of, oh, Kool-Aid should be taken 29th, Kool-Aid should be taken 40th, Kamari Lassiter. Watching the tape, I don't see many things that Kool-Aid McKinstry separates himself from to the Kamari Lassiter, the Chris Abrams train, to the corners that we've been talking about. I think it's more so Kool-Aid, and it's not trying to be funny, but I think his name honestly has a lot to do with it, why it's so catchy. People I think I'm being serious. Like, I think Kool-Aid is a guy who's going to be at least a solid corner. I don't think he's going to be a bust, but at 29, I think there's guys that you could get in the second or third round that translate in the NFL very similar to him. I just think he's highly coveted, because if you're playing corner at Alabama, you got to be pretty damn good, but they don't always translate. Like D. Miller, you can go down numerous names of corners that come out of Alabama being coached by Nick Saban. They don't translate in the NFL. And the fact that he was the cornerback 2 there, and I know it's not like he was always getting the number 2 wide receiver on the other team, but that shows you like, okay, there's obviously some talent gap in between him and Terrion. What's it going to be like when it's him and Carlton Davis? So I just think there is some speculation. You got to wonder, like, okay, yeah, at 29, that sounds cool, but can you get a guy in the second or third round?
And this is where I'm at with the Kool-Aid stuff. You asked the question, what does he do at an elite level? I do know what he does better, not than every corner, but then some of the corners behind him. It would be man coverage. It's press man coverage, which is something that I think gets talked about all the time with him. You're not too far off, by the way, with your Kool-Aid, the name point. I think that's part of it.
Like
sure.
it has, especially with
but he is a good
draft.
player, man. I mean, he started on this defense at Alabama's defense as a freshman with Nick Saban. He was a freshman starting at corner. So and Terrion Arnold had a great year this year, but Kool-Aid's been there since a freshman. I just like his attitude. Like he's got like, I know we use the dog thing a lot. He's got that dog in him. And I know there's some guys that do as well, but I like Kool-Aid. I do.
And that's fair. And like good man-to-man corner. He's got that dog in him. Is that why you're taking him 29th overall, though? Is that why you're taking somebody 29th overall when you can get somebody that right now doesn't look like they're taking the offense to another level, but in 2 or 3 years helps to keep this offense where it is, especially after Ben Johnson leaves? I think that's something. You add more weapons around Jared Goff, it helps this offense keep flowing. And the defense was struggling this year. What was carrying it? The offense.
Yes.
They want to upgrade that defense.
Yep.
But if you can get a dude, because at the same time, there is a gap between the Ladd McConkeys and the Brendan Rices, just like there's at corners. And same with the defensive ends. Like, I think defensive end in the second round is the best option right now, unless you get a lot to a reverse.
I just think his the mix of, again, his what he can do in press man, specifically man coverage, but his length, his height. Then you look at the NFC North and you look at the NFC and you look at these wide receivers like Keenan Allen, one of the best in man coverage, and then you look at Justin Jefferson, one of the best in man coverage. I'm looking for just I don't want to use that term because you guys will, but a corner that will stick with you instead of saying a sticky man corner. A corner that will stick with you. And I think Kool-Aid is that guy. But to your point, maybe they evaluate guys like Chris Abrams-Drain, who's a little smaller, but still a really productive corner in the SEC, or, hell, even a Kamari Lassiter. Like, there might be other guys you look at and be like, you know what? They're pretty good man coverage too. But that's what really attracts me, man. Like him in press, and you're going to be facing all types of wide receiver. I mean, you got Jaden Reed with the Packers, Christian Watson. Like, I just need, and you look at last year, I mean, your corners couldn't stay in man coverage, let alone stay in front of anybody in man coverage. So that's where my obsession is. You do make great points, Lucas. Like, I'm not, I mean, I get there. There are some corners in the first 3 rounds that are going to be good players, and there's also going to be some good wide receivers. So I think that the argument either way, I mean,
I don't think there's no losing there. Like we both said, I don't think either of us are going to be upset.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You got something, Boone? Sorry, I was just
I mean, I already threw it out there already.
Yeah, that's.
I just don't think it would be a bad pick. I mean, you're adding another piece to that defense. I don't think it's like it's a talented guy from a good program. You're adding him. You already took Brian Branch last year, and he dropped, and you brought him on. So I don't think it would be a bad, and again, it's like you still have these needs, and there's going to be those needs in the second, third round. That's why I don't think it's going to matter at the end of the day. Oh, like, let's get a wide receiver in the first corner, this, that. I think it's just make sure you're getting the best players that are available at that time. Right. Because there's going to be, like, both of these position groups that you're kind of in need of, they're all pretty deep in this class up to the 3rd round. And you have three picks in the first 3 rounds. So I don't think any way it kind of goes. If we end up with Kool-Aid McKinstry, I wouldn't be mad. I think it'd be a pretty big time piece.
Yeah, I mean, he's injured, so my little sprinkle that might, a little sprinkle on top of Brad Holmes's interest. But yeah, he loves it.
Long as not Nate Wiggins.
Yeah, well, hey, never know. Man, I that's why I'm so excited for draft night, because it's gonna be all live. We'll all be on air. So, like, if Lucas is on and Nate Wiggins trade up, the Lions are selecting corner.
The Lions traded up for Nate Wiggins. And I almost hope he would end up being good, because we would have the most viral clip of Detroit Lions fan bashes the Lions for taking Nate Wiggins like 20th overall, and it would go viral the years. It would live on forever. I would be so mad. I would pop a blood vessel if we traded up for Nate Wiggins.
Yeah, that was like Adam last year
living on IR.
When the Lions passed on Kalijah Kancey for Jack Campbell, was it? Adam's reaction. If there was a camera on him, he would have went viral that day too. But I know someone else did for walking off the stream, but that's besides the fact.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Someone walked off the stream. Oh yes, never mind. Got it. I didn't know. I forgot. Yeah, I was
Adam's
right there.
better.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, Adam. That whole Kalijah thing. That was that was funny as hell. That was funny as hell. I still look back and it's like, I mean, Jack Campbell's going to be, and Adam even says it. All jokes aside, like he still believes Jack's going to be a dog next year. He's aligned with us about his development. Mm-hmm. But Kalijah ended up being a pretty good player, man.
Good. We had to go up against him too a couple times.
Yeah,
so he's a dog, dude.
He made work of Jonah. Like I'm not, he did. He made work. He got work done with Jonah. Well,
barbecue chicken.
Yeah. Not Kevin Zeitler though.
Mm-mm.
Nope.
Not Kobe Sorsdahl. Not Yodi.
Not Yodi. Could never be Yodi. Well, fellas, Jim,
shout out Kobe.
Yeah, we got to get Kobe. Would be a fun. I feel like he'd be a funny. Everyone says he's like a funny dude. He's quiet, but like I feel like he'd be a good interview. Like just like Kobe Sorsdahl, just chopping it up with Kobe. We got to get him on, man. What are we doing here? We're lacking.
I would love to do like a one-on-one with Kobe Sorsdahl. Yeah. Like try and like get by him real quick. Not like a one-on-one interview.
Dude,
I'm talking about like on
he
the
would
field.
Put you in a jail.
Oh, for sure. That would be great to see, though. I would love to do
put
that.
you in a jail.
Trying to get by him real quick.
It'd be like
one-on-one. You guys thought I was talking about an interview.
That'd be Colby. Hey, but Boone, you could test out your moves. Your pass rush moves. Yeah.
You ever seen the video where it's like the blind kid that does the interview and then they're showing him trying to play football like 30 seconds after and he just running around there with no clue what's going on? That would be Booner against Kobe Sorsdahl.
I think Kobe would be a good one. I was thinking when the doc was on, we need to figure out a way to get like for just one day of training camp, like passes to get on the field so we can talk to some of these guys and maybe they will let us if we grow enough, maybe they'll let us go on the field and I can, instead of doing with the Michigan Panthers, the long snap video, maybe we can do that out of training camp and I could put pads on at a Lions training camp and go out there. I think it's like Scott Daly or McQuaid. One of those guys are out there and I can, we could do a video like that. That would be nuts.
Booner, very easy. All you got to do will walk up to security.
Okay.
We'll say, get your boss, Dan Campbell, right now. We have the man who did the Kool-Aid video. Like, just say, we got the guy who did the Kool-Aid video, and he'll just be like, what?
The beer and Kool-Aid guy.
Sheila, shut up for a second. I'll be right back. Go and check out Booner. That's what we're going to do.
I'm in Rock. Say, it's me, Booner.
Hey, be on your Instagram.
It's your boy.
Well, fellas, the coaches, GMs, they met in Florida. Jim Harbaugh had some interesting comments. I know we talked about it, yesterday was it, or 2 days ago, about how he said JJ's pro day was the best he's ever seen, ever in the history of pro days.
What an announcer voice from Jeff.
So
just preaching.
He said it. That's your head coach. He said it. Best pro day I've ever seen in my life, he said. So he also said some things he kind of believes in with the offensive line. And I said this the other day when we talked about Marvin Harrison. I was like, man, it'd be hard. I mean, for them I know they need a wide receiver, but knowing Jim, not that I know him, but looking at Jim's resume and what he believes in, his brother with the Ravens, what their philosophy is they build from the trenches. That's what they want to do. And here's Jim Harbaugh kind of talking about his philosophy and why he values the trenches. Here you go.
National champion.
The offensive line to me is important. If I ask you the question of like what position group depends on no other position group to be good, but every other position group depends on them to be good, what position group is that? Offensive line. They're not relying on any other position group to be good. They go out and they're good. But yet every other position group relies on the offensive line to be good. And then the D-line, they'll be the ones that argue back. We don't need the offensive line to be good. Do you? Do you like when the offense has a 12-play drive and the field position? Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. You're right. It's like so. Yeah. That. Building that kind of offensive line, that's exciting. Can't wait to do that. April 2nd, let's get it started. Let's go.
so
Can't wait to
confused
do
by that guy. I'm
A
so
unique
confused.
individual, man.
I fucking love that guy.
Yeah, he's
So confused.
he's
the man.
he's a interesting dude.
Yeah.
But I have said, and I do believe he's one of the best coaches on planet Earth because like that dude knows ball. I mean, he's a smart dude. I know he's a little goofy sometimes, and people, especially if you're not a Michigan fan, you kind of are like, what the hell? Who is it? He's kind of weird. But what he said, that is the most well said thing about the offensive line. Like you can say, well, you got to protect your quarterback, got to be able to run the ball. What he just said, mic drop. Like that's why
he broke that down perfectly.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone could ever break it down any better as he just did. I really don't. I don't know, dude. It's confusing to me. Typically, a coach doesn't want to give away draft strategies. He just said we're getting an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
I'll see you guys at the draft. I'll see you whenever it is. We'll see you then, and we'll move on. We're taking an offensive lineman at 5. So maybe they move back, and maybe they
still get a tackle unless they love Joe Alt or something.
They might just move back a couple picks, let like a Vikings or a Giants come up and get JJ at 5. Maybe they make those moves, but he basically, I don't know. I can't tell if it's him being like, "Yep, we're going offensive lineman, we're going to tackle, whatever it is. That's our plan," or he's like trying to mess with people so Marvin Harrison falls to him at 5 somehow, some way. I don't know. I can't get a read off of him. I kind of like though the way he broke that down. I think he's been successful every stop of the way anywhere he's been in his career. So I kind of trust what he said there.
Yeah. You even looked when he was in the 49ers. I mean, he had Joe Staley, had Mike Iupati, had I don't think Alex Mack was there yet, but I mean, his offensive line when he was in San Francisco, when he was in Michigan, he's always had a good offensive line. And when you have a quarterback like Justin Herbert, who he's going to depend on for success, I think when you first get there, making sure you have the line that you want in front of them, that's step one. I mean, that's what the Lions did when they started this rebuild. The first step, as far as in the draft, they went and they got Penei Sewell. They solidified their quarterback's blind side. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jim does the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, look at the restructures, boys. I mean, Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, defensive linemen, they restructured. And I'm sure Jim had a whole pitch with them to them about how much he does need help on the defensive line. They got some pretty good pieces. And then Keenan Allen just refused to take a pay cut. But I think they were comfortable trading him for that very reason. Like the trenches is what Jim, that's where the game of football starts. That's where the most important, I think.
And I know like you can never have enough offensive linemen, but is there even anyone else in that top 10 range that is like really hunting for one? As if the Chargers did trade back, they could probably still get Joe Alt because of, I mean, no one else is really drafting in that. Oh yeah, the
Titans, Jets, and even the Bears.
I think Brock Bowers to the Jets.
I think
makes a
Jets.
lot of
Jets go
does
edge.
make a lot of sense.
I think, but
think where?
I think the Jets draft an edge no matter what because they were kind of unsuccessful.
But I could also see him just being like Tyron Smith. I know we just took him, but he's also has injury concern. We already had one tackle go down. We can bring another one in.
They do need a tackle.
Yeah,
they do need an offensive lineman. That's a big need for them. I'm interested though on the Chargers guys. They take an offensive lineman. What do they do with what weapons do they have now outside of Justin Herbert? They lost Austin Eckler. They lost Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. Where are they at with Justin Herbert, and you can have all the protection you want. And I'm just talking about this year. Maybe they're not looking to be great this year, and they're let's build and build. But it's just to me like maybe later in the draft they can get a receiver. But it's a little odd to me. They got rid of their 3 top weapons on their offense essentially, and they're all gone. But I'm like, whatever opinion you have Quentin Johnson, yeah. But whatever opinion you have on like Austin Eckler and them, those were your top 3 weapons. Who's gonna have the ball now? Who are you throwing the ball to? Who are you handing the ball? I know they did bring in a running back. I can't remember the free agent.
Gus Edwards.
Gus Edwards.
Gus Edwards. That's Lucas.
So I don't know. Who are you throwing the ball to? Quentin Johnson, and then you're going to draft a rookie and have
Josh Palmer. Booner, don't sleep on Josh Palmer.
How could you forget?
No. Hey, Josh Palmer's an all right wide receiver too. He's better than Josh Reynolds.
If he can stay healthy, though.
Okay.
And they lost. Who's the guy that went to Chicago? They lost another guy there too. The other guy that we used to bet on all the time.
But they lost. Gerald Everett.
Yeah,
Gerald
he went to
Everett. They
Chicago,
lost.
Yeah.
So like they lost literally
Yeah.
like 4 of their top 5 or 6 weapons are just gone,
Well,
and they haven't gotten anyone in free agency outside of Gus Edwards. I don't know. It's an interesting
Don't need 'em.
situation.
Hey,
Don't
Lucas,
need
they
'em.
got the big fellow, the red zone threat at tight end. Who's that?
Oh, Donald Parham.
Woo!
Donald Parham's a dog too, a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
It's a big boy. It's a big
Dude's
boy.
like 6'8". What is he?
As much as bad as the Chargers were last year, they were one of the funnest teams I think to bet on because they did score some
yeah.
points. Justin Hurt, they did sling the ball before he got hurt. We were Josh Palmer. We were getting you could bet Keenan Allen catches that hit every week. It was just a beautiful team to bet on.
Hey, but real quick, boys, Booner, everything you just said though is correct. They need, like Jeff said, they need help up front. They need somebody that can catch the ball as the receiving aspect, and they just lost Gerald Everett. Who can fill in all 3 of those things at some point? It's Brock Bowers. I think that's where Brock Bowers, I don't even know if he makes it there. I wouldn't be surprised if they just stay put and took him at 5, because I think the possibility of him going to Tennessee is very likely too. And if Kyle Pitts went 5th overall, are we really going to be surprised if Brock Bowers does as well? I don't think so. And I think
I've
some
got
people
a-
will be like, yeah, that's a
He
mistake.
loves tight
But
ends.
Kyle Pitts can't block a soul. Brock Bowers can do everything that he's not as athletic as far as speed as Kyle Pitts, but he's well more rounded.
I've got something for you.
The Titans are in an interesting position for real.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
are. They're in a good.
Well,
They're in
They
an
can go
interesting-
anywhere. They
Yeah.
could even
Think
go
about
quarterback
this.
if they wanted to. Like if they really wanted to, and Drake May's sitting there. I know Booner hates that, but they could go Drake
Yeah,
May.
they could do literally anything.
So
I
think
mean, I
about
see
this.
Roma
fellas.
Dunze mocked there a lot too. Like what?
Yeah.
Someone's going to try and trade up and go get, and there was, I think Jeff texted us today and said, or it might have been Luke, someone texted me today, can't remember who it was, and said JJ to Minnesota is a lock. I think it might have been Lucas or someone texted me or just said something about Minnesota with JJ.
Well,
think
we
about
said
this.
that when they traded for 2 first-rounders. We're like, I said even Stevie Wonder could see that.
Yes.
You know?
So with that, real quick, because we haven't talked about, we're talking about the Chargers. They trade back with the Vikings. They get 11 and 23, whatever it is, 21. I don't know what the pick is. And they get that. Go ahead and get your offensive tackle at 11 because, again, even if Joe Alt's not there, this is a very deep offensive tackle class. There's a lot of dudes out there. Go get your lineman at 11. And at 21, 23, whatever the pick is, it is – I just had it up here.
It'd be 23.
I think it's 23. Brian Thomas falls to 23. You can get yourself your receiver at 23. Now you just added another weapon. You got the tackle you probably already wanted. And now you just came out of the first round sitting pretty. I think that's what they end up doing. I almost want to lock that in and say that's a Booner lock for the draft. Like, I think that's exactly what they're going to do.
I agree with you. I just think they would do the other way around. Like, I think you could get a
Maybe the other way around
possibly, and then get like a JC Latham. But yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Either way, it's just I think they trade out and they make it to where now you can add a weapon, an offensive lineman. Vikings need to move up to the top 5, especially if the Cardinals stay and another team doesn't move. And that number 5 pick is going to be on the market. There's going to be teams. The Giants are going to be throwing picks out. Everyone's going to be throwing picks out for that pick right there.
I think Jim saying that, you were right, Boone. You kind of nailed it, and probably because Jim, he just got back in the NFL. This screams to me he's trading back because unless they love Joe Alt that much and they want to take him at 5, which like okay, I get that. He's a pure left tackle though, so Rashawn Slater would have to play right unless you force Joe to play right for the first time ever. But if they do trade back, you can like you brought up JC Latham. That's a great one. Like this tackle class is so deep. There's so many good tackles that are going to be picked in the top 20 that you could find a good tackle at 11 and still be fine and get more assets. So like it just makes too much sense not to do for the Chargers to trade back. Like it, unless they think Joe Alt is like.
I don't think anyone really. I feel like that would have been more consensus by now. Like I think people think he's the number 1, but I don't think it's by like a huge margin. No, I don't think it's like a Penei Sewell type of thing. When Penei came out, he was like a lock top 5 pick. I don't think that's the same thing with Joe Alt.
Yeah. No, I agree there. We'll get to Mailbag. It's 9:50. Get your questions in the chat. Anything you want to ask, questions, thoughts, concerns, anything. Lions are just related, Detroit sports related. We'll answer them. Jesse Adams, Mailbag. What would you rather do? Draft a quarterback in the first 3 picks, or would you rather get Xavier Legette or get Xavier Howard, then draft 2 D-line and wide receiver in the first 3 picks? So hold on. Draft a cornerback in the first 3 picks or get Xavier Howard, then draft 2 defensive linemen and a wide receiver for this first 3 picks.
So basically replace the need in the draft with corner with defensive linemen. So you double up on defensive line and wide receiver because you fill that need with Xavier Howard. I would much rather take a corner in the 3rd or in the first 3 picks because I think at the end of the day, when they do draft a corner, I think they're going to ideally want him to start week 1 on the outside, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think they're going to develop him. You're going to be paying her cheaper money. At the end of the day, you're going to have that same need after the 1-year contract that Xavier Howard gets and he walks. So get that corner development now. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I think the length and the price, I would rather go corner and then corner, wide receiver, and defensive line. Like those 3 in no order. That's where I would be pretty happy with.
Yeah, I'd rather draft a corner. I'm not too high on Xavier Howard to begin with, and paying him for like 1 year doesn't seem like a solution to that room. I'd rather just draft my own guy.
Yeah, I'm with you, Mike, as well. That's how I feel about it, drafting a corner. Let's get to the next one. ETN Mailbag, top 3 favorite prospects in general.
Is that like Lions?
JJ McCarthy and JJ McCarthy.
not Lions. I say not Lions based, Booner.
So just in the draft?
Interesting.
Yeah, just in the draft in general.
Number 1 for me. Go ahead. Jeff.
No, go, Lucas. Go. You're good.
I say number 1 for me is Xavier Legette. Number 2 is Dallas Turner. 3. I'd probably say 3 would be probably Brian Thomas. Or actually, no, Marv. I'll go Marv. I like Quinyon too. Quinyon's close up there with Terrion, but I just think Marv, obviously, I have bias.
What do you think, Boo? Where are you at?
Can you guys hear me? All of you guys just froze for
good.
me. Okay, yeah, you guys froze for me for a second, and I was like, "What's going on?" I'm gonna go 2 quarterbacks in my top 2. I'm gonna go Jaden Daniels because I'm excited to see what he is. I've almost died on the hill that I think he can be better than Caleb Williams in the right position. JJ, obviously. I'm gonna go late rounds too. I tweeted about him and sent it to you guys today. But I'm gonna this Jalen Polk thing. I think the value of him in the late second, 3rd round. I think I'm excited to see what Jalen Polk does in the NFL. I think he's going to get someone. If it's not the Lions, someone's going to get a steal with him. If you watch him play, the stats he put up with Rome Odunze and the plays he made, just going up and getting the ball, he is a playmaker. I'm shocked that he's not talked about more in this draft, and I don't get it. I'm starting to fall for him though. I'm a big Jalen Polk fan. I think. I'm in on Jalen Polk.
All it took was a mock with Jalen Polk in it, dude. And Boone is like, who is this?
All in. When I see someone and then I start watching some film and I start looking like, oh my gosh, wait a second. I saw
because when I hit him in my mock, you were like, that's a great, like you were upset. And then I'm like, Booner loves this pick, bro. He likes Polk. Like
I love the 3rd round. That's such good value to me.
It's a good one.
Booner, the only reason that he is in the 3rd is just because he's strictly on the outside. But even like, I still think he should be a 2nd round guy. Like
teams have value for that, just like the Detroit Lions. You need that guy out there, and he had 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns out there. That's dangerous, in my opinion.
So I got number 1. It's Caleb Williams. Okay,
shocker.
That out the way. Number 2.
Should have taken him off the list.
Number 2. What? You could?
That's fair. I said Jaden Daniels. All right, fair.
Number 2, Jared Verse. Love Jared Verse. I think he's going to be a stud. Dallas Turner was really the one I was like, but I just like Jared Verse. I know we've been talking about him a lot. And then 3, and this isn't even Lions related. I just like the player. I'm going to go Kool-Aid McKinstry. I like Kool-Aid a lot.
God.
It's him or Kamari Lassiter. I love those 2 corners, man. I know I've made videos on both of them and talked about both of them. They're kind of sharing that 3 spot. And then Brian Thomas, he can put him 4th, and I like him too, but those are my top 3, man.
You stayed consistent on Lassiter and Kool-Aid for sure.
Yeah. So I like those guys. All right, well,
hold on, Gentry's got to do his
Gentry.
Yeah.
Marv, Nabers, and then no, you're good. Bowers and Turner were kind of my tied for 3rd, but I could go either of those. But I mean, I think Marv, Nabers, and Brock Bowers will all be elite at their position in the future. Yeah. So those 3 are all going to be good.
Who's better,
Jeff,
Marv or Nabers? Huh?
Marv. I'm not crazy. I've watched him against Michigan, man. He's a stud.
Good shit, Mike.
Hey, Jeff, do you share real quick?
Ford throwing him the fucking ball.
Sure. Easy.
What is it?
Don't you?
Yeah, it's from
Carter.
It's actually from a Lil Wayne concert, like probably 10 years ago.
Shout out. I like Lil Wayne.
Shout
Man.
out. Jeff was boots on the ground. Out the womb going to Wheezy concert.
It was that was like, yeah. That wasn't like Lil Wayne was. That was. I hate saying prime for rappers because like, is there?
No,
I get
that's fair.
No, you're spot
like
on.
they're an athlete, like 4 or 5 years ago.
knee,
Drake's
you know
well
what I
out of
mean?
his prime.
Yeah, like I think when you hear that, you're like, what do you
Clip
get hurt?
that. Clip that. Clip.
Yeah, we
that.
gotta clip that. We gotta clip that.
Wow.
What?
I said
don't
Drake's
think you
been
heard
out of
what you
his
said.
prime for like 4 or 5 years, and you're like, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, yeah, clip that.
Yeah.
If someone can clip that and
No.
send that to us, that that was
No,
the timing of that.
No, don't wait.
Kendrick just sent him into retirement too.
Don't.
Oh,
no,
come
we
on,
didn't.
chill out.
He didn't.
All
No, we
right.
didn't.
Any more mailbag
Stop that.
questions? Let's see. Let's get a couple
Yeah.
more mailbags in, boys. I
No,
know
I'm
what
pissed.
Lucas is
No, I'm
over
just-
there talking about.
Jimmy, mailbag. Do you?
It's a picture of Drake in the
Yeah. It's like a be right back thing. Like be right back. I'm out. Mailbag, do you think the Lions are building a Patriots type offense with a better running game? If so, not much of a need for an X receiver, maybe another tight end or slot. I mean,
I do.
It's
No, go on.
interesting.
I do. I've said that I think they are not taking the formula, but the rebuild as far as how they're doing it. You look at they're not committing to players long term. Very New England Patriots like. They're making sure that they're very fundamentally sound with the players they draft. Very Patriot like. They have a game manager quarterback that they keep fresh weapons around, especially young talent. And I don't think defensively they've gotten there yet. But once they start adding more talent, we see what Aaron Glenn can do. I think this will be a very Patriot-like rebuild because that's the blueprint for the dynasty that lasted the longest. And I think teams try to replicate that as much as possible, but they don't really have the proper chemistry, coaching, and all to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. The defense side is interesting to me too because they started off like rebuilding the offense first, and now there's just like last year they just started getting to the defense with Brian Branch and Jack Campbell. Like, obviously they had like some pieces they brought in and Hutch as well. Like so, like obviously they had some vet pieces they brought in with Anzalone and CJ at the time, but they just started drafting defense. It felt like I guess with Kirby and Hutch, but like last year, really going, let's go Branch in the third round or second round. Let's go Jack Campbell in the first. Let's like start addressing this. And it's like they prioritized offense. It felt like at first, and then the trenches, and now they're like, all right, and let's get this defense all good. So I'm with Lucas on that. I'm interested to see how this defense develops. It's young right now.
All right, we're taking a pivot right here. We got 2 minutes left. Mike, you're on the stand.
Oh,
all right.
Why?
So, Mike yesterday, you know, he was tuned in. It was a huge game. Red Wings,
it was a huge game.
You know, the Caps. You got it, please, Mike. We got the updates thanks to our chat. I just need I promised the people that we do like a mental health checkup for BMG.
Oh,
Michael
is that
Gentry.
why you called me?
I called
yeah,
you.
it was actually.
Sure
People were asking.
I tried to call my boy, and he sent my ass to voicemail. And in the chat, like I was live. I was live going, no, I'll call my boy. And I'm sitting there. Please leave a message after the beat. I'm like, no, we're cool. He's just sleeping right now. I mean, we're cool. But why'd you do me like that, Mike?
He found out he was the side piece. He found out he was the side piece.
Well, I was taking care of other things after the game, but dude, honestly, I was a wreck after that game. Like that third period was so fucking brutal. Like they just got put on their heads, and then the whole stick through that whole game was just get pucks on, and then you have people passing up open nets to throw a cross crease to some guy sitting in the fucking stands. So, I mean, it was just a brutal game, and I know that game kind of determines how the rest of the season's going to go and their playoff hopes, and that really meant a lot. And they play a lot of good teams down this stretch. I mean, Carolina up next, that's a very, very good team, if not one of the best in the NHL. So this made the road 10 times harder, and I don't know, the playoffs might be cooked now, boys.
Wait, what's the percentage? Because I do have a really big bet on it. This is like I got a text message. Shout out the old show I was on. Shout out Nick. Nick gave me the bet at the beginning of the Red Wings season, said it was the biggest lock of his life. He said, Booner, you have to do everything on it. And I'm not lying. This was the conversation we had before a show before the Red Wings season. And he said, Booner, this is the biggest lock. Like, this is my legacy play. I go, I'm in. And I put a lot of money on it. And then about a couple weeks before, right before Larkin got hurt,
when the patch
I got a
changed,
text
Booner.
message. And let me actually, I want to do
Did he
this
say
real
cash
quick.
out?
No, I want to, and Nick, I love you. I'm going to
Wow.
actually probably clip this and I'm going to send it to him. He texted me.
What'd he say?
February 29th. I kid you not. He said, how's that Wings bet looking? Winky face, winky face. He responded. He messaged me back. So this was February 29th. He messaged me back March 13th, almost basically exactly 2 weeks later. And he replied to his own message and said, this could not have aged worse. Did you cash out the bet?
No, I mean,
One of the
that's
biggest
fair.
bets of my life. And it was one of the funniest moments I've ever
Not the
encountered betting.
winky, man.
And to be
Mike,
fair, any Red Wings fan that's been watching, you should be disappointed that they're not in the playoffs. And especially if it's the Capitals that are making it over you. That team totally traded everyone away at the deadline, waived everyone. They have some good young players, but who like Hendricks, LaPierre, and Connor McMichael, those guys this is the first year in the NHL, and they've kind of taken that step with them. But all your young players are better than them. So there's no excuse for the Red Wings not to be making the playoffs. And it's disappointing that a team that like the Capitals is making it over you. And yeah, it might be because of coaching changes and line changes that Derek Lalonde has been doing. But at the end of the day, it's disappointing that the Capitals made it over you. There's no way around it. You are a better team, and it's flat out. I don't know what the problem is, but as a whole for that team, you look at that roster, compare it to the Capitals roster, they are 110%. I don't even give a shit about the Red Wings defense, and a couple of them are sorry. You are still a way better team than the Capitals. And at the end of the year, I mean, I'm curious to see like how Yzerman responds to that if they don't make it, but they are so much better than the Capitals. And the first time they played them, I'm pretty sure the Red Wings won like 8-3. It was one of the biggest blowouts of the year. And I want to say like DeBrincat had 2 goals. Everything was really flowing. And then you're playing them on home ice, so you can come out a little stale, and it was like a playoff environment. But to not make the playoffs over that team is straight garbage. There's no way around it.
Mike,
I feel bad, dude.
Mike's not happy. I haven't heard Mike go on a dialect like that passionate, negatively, I think, ever.
Well, yeah, I mean,
home.
they're in the toughest division in hockey, and they play a lot of fucking great teams and whatnot. But the way that like teams like Buffalo and New York Islanders have fizzled out, you may never get an easier opportunity to make the playoffs than you are right now. And to pass up on it, and for the Capitals to be the team that they make it over you, they have they're riding Ovechkin's wave. This dude's like fucking 50 years old, still scoring 30 goals, but like they don't even have that great of players. And obviously, yes, I'm taking into account you missed Dylan Larkin and probably the biggest stretch of the season. I don't give a shit. You pay 5 cents or fucking 3-year centers $5 million. So you allocated the cap to build a team of depth, and then you have a team that has 2 rookie centers as their best centers beating you. So it doesn't make any sense. There's no excuses. It's just poor performance. I mean,
be better.
There's no excuse that Dylan Larkin goes down and this complete team goes to shit. There's no excuse for it.
I mean, Mike, they have the same record over the last 10 games as the New York Islanders and the Pittsburgh Penguins, who, like, again, that's like, and again, you look at the Eastern Conference and look at the stretch of the last 10 games, like teams are starting to get better and they're playing better over the last 10 games, and the Wings are 3-6-1. So if there's ever a time to not shit the bed, it's now. And they're shitting the bed. So, hey.
Yeah.
They need you know what they need? You know what they need, Gentry? They need some people to start leading from the front.
Oh, yeah. All right. That's a good
maybe
the only one that leads from the front is Dylan Larkin, I guess, because
he's the linchpin, man. Like
maybe they need a Booner path for the Red Wings. That's what I'm starting to think. We might I might need to set something up here.
Well, that'll do it for today.
They're supposed to have Dan Campbell go to the locker room, but I mean, I guess it's probably too late for that because they're
man.
Yeah. So
Really?
like at the beginning of the year, one of the first like media press conferences that we had, I don't even think this one was like a televised one. I'm pretty sure it was just a post-practice one. Lalonde brought up that he wanted to bring Dan Campbell into the locker room earlier on in the year to start the year and kind of get these boys flowing. And yeah, that never happened, and it's probably too late to do that now. And Booner, to your point, there was like a graph I think I sent you guys yesterday. If they lost that game, they went down to like a 30% chance or something, or if they lost it in overtime, it was like 35% chance. The tough thing about it is, like I said, they play a lot of tough games in these next, coming week or two. And you also do play the Capitals again. So you kind of got to hope for them to lose. And then you definitely have to beat them on the way around. But it's going to be tough, man.
Should we get to a game and try and will a victory? Do we need to do that? I could bring some red Kool-Aid.
Oh, man.
Should we do a crunch time? Like, let's get to the game.
Play
and get a
defense?
Blood on the fucking side.
Well, what
Can you
is
play defense? And when you get on a 2-on-1, will you shoot the puck at the net? You're supposed to put it in the net. That gives you
pucks on net. Pucks on net.
Like in a 3-on-2 situation, if someone slides you across crease pass, you don't slide it right back when there's an empty net. You shoot it in the net. Shout out to Jeff Petrie.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's...
Gentry, would you? I'm not going to ask that question actually. No, we'll talk.
I know Gentry would not drink pee for a Red Wings.
No, I would not drink pee for a Stanley Cup. And yeah.
What about three straight? What about a three? Another.
Okay, now we're getting into this rabbit hole again. All right,
let's move on from that one. Lucas, come on, man. What would we bring that up
and
for?
Ronan, sadly, that point doesn't mean as much as you want it to mean. Earlier on in the season, when you stack up those overtime wins, it's great. But last night, you needed 2 points really to kind of make a bang, and didn't happen.
Damn.
I might lean into this because I feel like the Booner path. When I said the Booner path to the NFC Championship game, and I helped will that there. I'm gonna consider.
Don't
these
do
options.
it, Booner. You gotta no. That's how you put. You really put because if they don't make the playoffs and the Booner path integrity is in jeopardy, don't do that.
Yeah, but what happens if I lead them to the playoffs and they're I'm 2-0?
He's right. He's right though.
Booner, don't do it.
Again, I'm gonna consider.
As one of the people who've seen the Booner path be brought up, it's aged beautifully. It's been dealt with care. I think this is now you got something great going for you. You're trying to expand, but it's reckless, man. It's reckless.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to take the next
path on the Booner path.
Fair. I'm going to take the next 48 hours, consider my choices. If people want to reach out, pitch me anything. I'm going to look at the games. I'm going to talk with Gentry. I might call D-Mac. I'm going to speak with a couple people. Maybe we can get on the phone with Eiserman, and we'll consider what we need to do here to try and get. I'll consider all the choices. Gentry, I love you.
Yeah, it's not impossible, but it is very less likely after the game yesterday.
It's possible, but not probable. Is that fair to say? It's possible, just like winning the lottery, and maybe not as aggressive, but it's not probable. So
I'll say this: they have 10 games left. They need to go on a 3-game winning streak, no matter what. I don't care how it comes, and you probably only need to have 2 more losses, maybe in overtime. You need to win 3 in a row because Washington's going to play a lot of good teams too. And I mean, the Red Wings' next 2 games are Carolina and Florida. Those could possibly be the best 2 teams in the league, 1 and 2. So I mean, it's going to be a tough stretch, but you need to break out a win streak. And if they go 0-2 in those games, they're fucking good.
Real quick, Sarah became a member early on in the show, so I want to make sure we get Sarah became a member once again. So thank you for that. We appreciate you. Lucas, what do you got before we end the show?
I'd say, Booner, don't put that patch on the Booner path. You don't want that.
Yeah, the patch, actually, that goes into the very thank you. This is why I'm going to take the next 8 hours. What?
Can I interest you in the Pistons path?
No. I already said, Jeff, you should be fine.
Whatever.
I should fine you $1,000. Pistons aren't on this show until Troy Weaver's fired.
Okay. All right. We'll get out of here.
I'll have a decision Friday.
That's fair.
The decision. It's like LeBron with the
that's funny as hell. All right, we'll get out of here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Of course, John Maakaron, appreciate him, man.
What a show.
He is the absolute dope. Tomorrow we'll have Scott Bischoff on. Yes. So that'll be a lot of fun. Breaking down more draft prospects and what's to come in the near future. Less than about a month away. So can't wait for it. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate the chat as well. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a blessed night.
Deuces.